Actually, come to think of it, I'm not stood in the right position, but before I disappear to return, can I be heard?
You can.
Yes.
Absolutely clear, perfect.
That's it then, in which case, do whatever you so desire. I shall return in a bit.
An extra points to John Bobbick for the background. I'm loving it.
What does yours say, Stu, at the back?
1 sec. I'll move out the way.
That's what I call quarantine. I prefer the earlier work.
Of course, John's is Faulty Towers, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
Far
so.
out to Faulty Towers.
Was it all central and stuff? Because I didn't log on quick enough. So.
Didn't see. I had another window open. Sorry. Oh, that's better.
Yeah, you're central. That's fine.
Yeah, a little bit. Camera's a little bit on the high side. If you.
Oh, don't ask him to move the camera. Don't ask him to move the camera.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Camera's not moving.
It was
Okay.
Maybe for me. I look where I was yesterday.
Yeah, no, that's fine, Alex. That'll do. Because if you have to like go up on your tiptoes or lift your hands.
No, which I will be doing today.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
It's just we all want to know what the T-shirt says.
It's
We
not
have to
now.
wait till tomorrow till the video camera footage from the office gets booked in the group like yesterday's was. Today. Then you'll be able to see the T-shirt.
Do you want me to go up and take a photo of it?
Yes, please. And then private message me.
Inbox, yeah. It's very Alex, the T-shirts. Ashley said it was inappropriate, didn't you?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, well, that'd be very Alex then.
yeah.
Sorry if I can. I'm not sure if this chair, I might go and kill myself now.
Oh,
No, that's not going to work.
Don't do it.
No, I'll
Don't do it.
step ladder, back in a minute.
come down here and I'll show him on my camera.
No, I'll get on the step ladder because you're recording. Yeah.
Oh, God.
This will be great. I get to watch my husband die live.
What do you want to cure for obesity? When do we want it? After dinner. Yes. Brilliant.
Yeah. Ashley was not amused.
Well, that will be fully visible on the camera all the way through on the one that's in the office when that's uploaded as the backup tomorrow. I'll work out to get this down because there's a clip on it. Under his coat.
Okay. So we said we can do whatever we want. Shall we take over?
Yeah.
You can for 7 minutes. Well, no, 8, 9 minutes you can.
It's no fun if you give me permission.
Eyes down for a full house. Your first number is 2 and 9, 29.
Is it been hot enough for you, Stu?
It's not too bad here because, you know, got the blinds and everything in the office, keeping the room cool. Gets a little more warmer and I'll have to get the big fan out.
It's actually highly annoying for me because it's so bright because Ashley's she's going to be doing one of these self-tape auditions.
Yeah.
But our living room is like so bright.
Yeah.
Because of that the big window that she's lit up like an angel. It's really bizarre. But
yeah,
she's
lighting's a problem, isn't it?
yeah, she's going for more, you know, rocky. She's playing the bass guitar. So I'll send you the video because I don't want to bore everyone here, but I'll send you a video of her playing.
Fantastic, cheers.
If she'd have had it out, she'd have probably done it for everyone. Wouldn't you, Ash? Would you have played for everybody if you had your bass out?
Yeah.
Yeah. Seminar and a show. Yeah, I'll send it over to you now.
Cheers.
When you move to the side like that, a strip comes
Yeah, I
up.
don't know what that is. It happens on all the backgrounds for some reason. I think there's something behind me. I've just got to sort of work out what it is.
Yeah.
There's only one. And the problem is I'm on a swingy chair, so I can't sit still.
Have I shown you Ashley's pop-up background?
I'm not vain. How's that for a background?
No, that's terrifying.
Portrait from Mark Metcalf, Saturday Award-winning artist, people. I'm not showing off and saying you can make shitloads of money from hypnosis, but there you go.
There you are.
No, I'm inspiring people that they can achieve the same when they go into action what I teach them.
Just as a little bit of a bonus information, the reason it's in the office is because it terrifies me.
It's a bloody spitting image of me.
It's really scary.
It's not scary. It's a work of art. Saturday
Follows you around the room.
Yeah.
If I had that, I'd put it over the fireplace, keep the kids away from the fire.
Yeah, Stu, have I showed you Ashley's pop-up background?
No.
No, I'll take a picture of it and I'll send it you. It folds up into a bag about 2 foot by 2 foot, but it's circular.
Right.
It's like, it pops up to 5 foot by, I think it's 3 foot.
Oh, is it one of these twisty ones?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Can you send me a link, please?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
But it's very good for Ashley self-taping.
Yeah.
But you can get them in green screens, which this is what I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so I'll send you a link.
The camera picks up the green screen quite well, the not green screen, because there's all of that going on in the background.
Oh yeah, I forgot how much stuff you have. I was going to say something mean.
How much rubbish?
Much tidier than last time I saw your office.
Oh, you want to sit on that side. Currently building the virtual studio.
Yeah, I've he knows, so it's not a spoiler. But for our anniversary, I bought Alex a proper green screen background.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so he will be torturing you all with I'm surprised he didn't put it up actually, because I gave it him in advance in case.
No, because I've had to tuck this one down. Too much ball ache. It's in the drawer here. My key word is do as little work as possible.
There's a dog in your office.
No, it's not in my office. Quack, quack, it's not.
Stop drinking on camera, Alex.
I was doing it yesterday. Hey, it's like the old days. Going to boot camp.
Yeah.
Oh no, were you smoking? I hate them ones.
Yeah, from the late 90s onwards.
Right, Stu, I'll send you this video of Ashley. She stood in front of the background on it, so
Oh, brilliant. Cheers.
you'll see it.
Which one is it?
The one of you playing your bass, I thought she would like it.
Oh yeah.
I just come in to chat and then I'll leave before the start.
So there's another. I'm going off my clocks, but there again, I'm about to go off the computer clock, which means there's 8 more minutes. But if I went off my watch, I'd be starting before 8, and then that'd be unfair if people did show up at 8 o'clock.
This is a lovely view of you, Alex.
Yeah, I know.
I just wanted to see the side view here. You should have that sent over, Stu.
Thank you. That sounds like it's just popped over.
Camera on, ready?
Turn that off.
Oh, making that screen.
Yeah. Are you watching a video?
Well, I've got it on silent at the moment, so that I'm not.
Well, that's pointless. She's playing the bass.
I'm central there, it's central-ish. On that one. Shouldn't be looking at that one anyway. Move it slightly like that.
This is you playing.
So recording. Let's get the benefit of that camera.
I'm impressed.
Hey, don't you wish you were as good?
I've had an electric guitar for 10 years. I still can't play it.
Well, I'll send you a link to where we got the pop-up background from. But it goes in a bag. And we just shove it in the cupboard.
Yeah.
The first time I put it down, it was a bit tricky. But once you've done it about 2 or 3 times, it goes down. You can do it one-handed.
Easily.
I can imagine it's just a twist and...
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
You just do it. When it's stiff, when you first get it, it's a bit more difficult.
Right.
So there's my collection of guitars.
Oh, very nice.
I think you win. We have 3.
I think I have with the about 12 total so far.
Oh, they're real. It's not a Photoshop background.
No, that's real. They're real.
Tremendous.
Very cool.
They all miss me. I don't play them enough.
No dog.
Nah.
It's a shame.
Oh, I'll get back to it again.
Well, I wonder how many we're going to end up with.
We had 43 yesterday in the room.
Messages off various people. There's 17, no, is it 79 people in the group?
Yeah.
So a lot of people must just be watching the replays. Mm, 5 more minutes till start time.
You can change your name to yours if you want. I was under Ashley yesterday, so I came in under Rachel Smith today to make sure nobody confused me.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Oh, I need to. What an idiot! I need to. Yeah. I will. Well, that's not what I need to press. Come on, Alex. You did it yesterday. You must know where it is.
What are you looking for?
Don't worry.
Spotlight.
I will find it. Nobody.
Yeah, don't help him. He needs to learn.
I did it yesterday. I pinned. One pin.
No, you don't want pin.
Not pin.
Spotlight. No, I've unpinned. I was pinned. I've unpinned. Now spotlight. Right.
That's better.
Right, hold on. Yeah, you're spotlighted.
Hello, everybody.
I'm going to leave everyone now that that's been...
Okay.
God, the sound is loud. Oh, that must be my speaker doing that.
It might have been me because I'm quite loud.
No, I had the volume up full. That's better. I brought it down a bit.
Oh, I know I have my mic on very loud because Ashley, my daughter, uses it for singing lessons.
You've changed your name to Rachel.
Yeah, because she got cross with me. I was basically stealing her identity.
She got cross with, and how old is she? She's getting cross with her mum?
She's in charge here. Me and Alex have absolutely no... She's dancing, going, yes!
What's the world coming to? When I was a kid, even when I was a baby, my parents used to beat the crap out of me. I knew my place. I didn't dare say a word until I left the place. When I was 26, they told me that it wasn't my home. I was just a lodger. They let me stay there. So I picked up my keys and I left.
Got to stay there till 26.
Yeah. Until they told me that it wasn't my, I said, it's my home too. They said, no, it's not. We just let you stay here. So I picked up my things and left.
Shall we try that? Ash, move out.
No.
She said no.
Mm.
Okay.
She's how old?
She's 10. The problem is we can't tell her to go out and get a job because she already has one.
Is she? What job's that?
She's an actress.
Is she?
Yeah, she does TV and theatre and...
Yeah. Can't you get her some catalogues from a estate agent or something? You know, give her the idea of home ownership.
She said when she's older, she's going to buy a big house, but she's going to force me to live with her because she wants to make me look after her children.
Yeah. She's a little. Oh, when she's older, I'm thinking she's a little young for children now.
Yeah.
Or there are those in the monarchy who wouldn't agree.
Well, I think 10 even for his style was a bit young.
Yeah. But let's not go there because my views of the monarchy shouldn't be shared here.
Yeah, I'm sure Alex will rant with you about it sometime if you want.
Yes.
Not while I'm listening.
I think we probably have done in the past.
Yeah. I believe we have. Right, 1959. It's going to turn 8 o'clock any moment on the laptop.
Right, bye-bye, everyone.
All right, Joe.
Bye, Rachel.
If you can at 9:30 have a cam ready to pass me, please, at break.
Fine, says I've already been there.
You pop round one round here as well, Rach. You know.
Is there anything else you would like me to do for you?
No, that'll be fine. Right.
Pack your bags.
Okay. If
Yeah,
everyone could please mute themselves, we will begin in a few moments. Okay, Corky, welcome to day 2. Friday do you know, I've lost the plot, Friday the 29th of May 2020. Yes, day 2 indeed. So sessions 3 and session number 4 will be after the break, which we'll have in about 90 minutes time. If you've not yet looked in the group, go in the group, stay at home and hypnotize. This is only relevant to people watching this live. If you see this in years to come, kind of ignore this bit. But those of you who are with me now, go in the group and there will be a button, a tab, call it what you will, that says announcements. If you click on that, there are some pinned announcements, pinned posts, call them what you will. One of them has got a link to where you can download your complete mind therapy and complete unconscious reprogramming of emotional disease and distress, training package of videos, audios, the scripts, the logos, the diplomas and stuff. I'll mention more about them later, but that's the link. When you use the discount code that's there, it will reduce the price from $297 down to $0. Because you were promised them for free. Be sure to check your junk and spam folders. I checked Selfie before I came on air, and a couple of people who've clearly gone to download it haven't yet clicked on the download link. Now that might be because you just haven't got around to it, fair enough, or it could be because you don't think the emails come through with the download link because your email client sent it to the junk or spam folders, so check there. Also inside the bootcamp announcement area is details of the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. And to answer, I'm not saying this to pitch you the bootcamp, although genuinely you only have until midnight on Wednesday to be able to get in the bootcamp for a single one-off payment of £197 sterling, which when it normally sells for $5,000, and anyone who's in the bootcamp can tell you that the stuff in there, there's no one else in the world that offers a more comprehensive training area. But please do yourself a favour, save money. A, by joining the bootcamp before midnight next week, but B, don't. If you're on my mailing list and you're on this, yes, you will still be getting emails today, tomorrow, the day after, because you're on the mailing list. Don't buy anything, okay? If you're going to consider getting the bootcamp, don't buy anything off the emails you're getting. If you're on my mailing list, you're getting them automatically. But one or two of you have bought stuff overnight, especially the audio hypnotherapy resale rights package, which comes with like 43 ready recorded tracks with resale rights, and some of them have ready-made websites and all that kind of stuff. And at least 2 of you have bought that overnight. I'm not going to refund you because you've already got a massive discount on it, as you know, otherwise you wouldn't have bought it. But the thing is, don't buy anything else. If you were thinking of buying anything else, it'd just make more sense to join the bootcamp, because then you get everything I've ever released over the past 30 years. That if you bought it individually, it would cost you over $10,000 for just 197 quid until midnight on Wednesday. Right, that's not sales blurb, it's just telling you, don't waste your money. You're better off with the bootcamp than buying things individually. Thirdly, bonus. It was not advertised. It was not mentioned yesterday. It's not mentioned on the sales copy that you bought your ticket from. I have today bought in the announcement section of the group a link, again with a discount code that's valid until a couple of days after we've done this call, so sooner you download the better, for my fast track hypnotherapy, NLP and mind therapy course. That consists of just over 2 hours of video, some audio, several manuals, but more importantly what it's got in it. You know, yesterday I mentioned I started learning, I started doing this after listening to 3 90-minute audio cassettes and reading a 67-page manual. Well, I have bought the original APHP training course manual and the fast track guides and the questionnaires and all the stuff that I originally got back in 1989 and now own the rights on are in that package. So exactly what I was talking about yesterday is there. In other words, once you've downloaded that, you are immediately in a position to do exactly what I did from 1989 until about the end of 1991, start of 1992. Because for those first couple of years before I developed complete mind therapy, which we're going to explore today, I quite literally did do what we said yesterday about getting rapport, get them to close their eyes, use that magic phrase we covered yesterday. So if you're only joining us now, you need to watch yesterday's video. It's in the members area. And then I get the script out and read the scripts for the induction, the deepener, the ego strengthening, whatever was the relevant therapy, the post-hypnotic and the awakening. Job done. And that's what I did for just short of 3 years. And I got media coverage, TV, radio, newspapers, clients galore, made a ton of money. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. So if there's anyone who's a complete beginner, I tell you that yesterday, if you go back and watch yesterday's 3 hours of video, download the fast track hypnotherapy package, watch those 2 hours of video, and then use the scripts that's applied in there, you will be in a stronger position than I was in 1989 when I started, because back in 1989, it took me a while before I came up with those phrases that made sure they kept their eyes closed, and the ways of getting the instant rapport and that we covered yesterday. So that's my gift to you, another $150 gift that I've thrown into the members area. I hope you're not too upset that I'm giving you more than I promised to actually supply. Okay, I have got some notes today, bullet points, because I got to the end of yesterday, I realised, you know what? They're going to think I purposely set up all these nested stories that I said I wasn't doing. Because I got downstairs and I was having a drink and I remembered, oh yeah, I started telling the story about how you've got to, you know, ramp up the pain and all that, and how a guy had approached me at a seminar. And then I can't remember, and I've quickly gone through the video of yesterday, and I can't remember ending that story. So some of you might have been left hanging. Honestly, I didn't do it on purpose. So I'll get that out of the way now. I was approached by somebody at a seminar, a gentleman who said, it was his way of ensuring he could get to see me face to face. And so he hadn't really come to learn hypnosis. He'd come in the hope that I would treat him. And he said it was a delicate matter, so we went off in private for a chat. And he basically, in a nutshell, without saying his name or too many details, effectively he was a sex addict, which not too much of an issue if you're single, but he was married. And he didn't want, he wanted to overcome the addiction because he said he genuinely loved his wife and didn't want to be cheating on her. Now, I asked him what he'd done in the past. He went through all myriad of things, and ultimately the word try kept coming up. And as we covered yesterday, when you try to do something, well, it's like Yoda says, do or do not, there is no try. Try is a negative suggestion. It entertains the possibility of failure, and thus failure is more likely to happen. And that is what had been happening to him. I'm not going to go into full details of what I did, but what I ultimately did, and I didn't really use any long-winded formal trance induction with him. I just got him to close his eyes, take a few nice deep breaths in through his nose, and then out through his mouth. In through his nose, and then out through your mouth. And I started to tell him that with his eyes tightly closed at all times, unless I say otherwise, just so long as he keeps his eyes tightly closed, just so long as you use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, then you will find that the work we do together over the next few minutes will prove to be 1,000,000% successful for you from this moment forward. Nod your head if you understand. Consent, compliance, hypnotic therapeutic contract, call it what you will. We covered that yesterday. Refer back to that. Once he'd nodded his head, I said, I want you to imagine now in your mind's eye. Let me tell you straight away, this isn't complete mind therapy. This is just the basic principles that we spoke about yesterday: pain and pleasure, visual imagery. I said, I want you to imagine in your mind's eye the last person that you had sex with who wasn't your wife. And I'm going to tell you that before I was doing this, I'd asked him a few questions, got some information, which the information is what I then fed back to him in a minute as per this example. I want you to notice how good that feels, how the majority of you was really enjoying that. There was just that little voice of your conscience saying, I wish I could stop from doing this. But if we're really honest, you really were overtaken by the feelings that overwhelmed you to push you towards doing that and really enjoying it right now in that memory in your mind. Because I wanted him to get state-dependent memory learning and behaviour we spoke about yesterday. I wanted him to be in the state of mind that he would be in when he's enjoying it, because it's that which makes it, when he's not in that state, practically impossible for him himself to undo the anchors, the connections, and all those things that are what stopped him from stopping doing it. So by getting him to visualise, and now when I click my fingers, in a few moments it's going to be another partner you had a great night of real hot sex with. 1, 2, 3. Did this a few times, so we're getting the state-dependent memory learning behaviour state heightened, as it were. And then I said, totally unexpectedly, so it's arguably what they were calling NLP a pattern interrupt. I said this time, and I snapped my fingers on the count of 3. All of the images of all those different sexual encounters that you've just visualised, along with all the other hot partners you've had in the past that you then regretted afterwards because you really do love your wife, will kind of rush through your mind all at once. But when they do, the very moment, the very second they start running through your mind, you realise that it's that very second when you orgasm, that moment of heightened pleasure with people who are not your wife. And you'll realise in your mind's eyes, I click my fingers, now that as you come, you see in the background your little kids watching you, and you pull out, you're scared, you're trying to run out of the room, but unfortunately you ejaculate all over your grandmother's face, and your wife's in the room, and you suddenly shit yourself because you're so scared of the repercussions, and the room stinks. And that's the mild end of the kind of shit and stuff I had him focus on. I'm not even going to go into the extremes. Let's just say that if you can think of the sickest possible thing on the planet, I suggested to him that in his mind's eye, at that moment of orgasm with someone who was not his wife, if it was in a context, and this is the key phrase here to make it ethical and moral, if it was in a context where part of him genuinely and sincerely wanted to be faithful to his wife, thus that it's leaving the opportunity that if in the future he was to decide to split with his wife, or she split with him, that he would be physically capable of getting it up with other women when there wasn't that conflict thing there, because obviously we've got to think about, you know, potential issues there. But ultimately I got into his head something that was so sickening that even the thought afterwards, when I'd gone through an apparent awakening process, the 1 to 10 bit, telling him then, okay, now your eyes are open, how do you feel? Oh, I can still remember, that was disgusting. Close your eyes and imagine now, think about the last person you had sex with. And he just quickly opened his eyes and he was like, no, I feel like I want to be physically sick. I said, excellent. You're sorted, you're cured. And I've not heard from him in a couple of years, in fairness, but I did hear from him pretty much every couple of months for the best part of a year. And it was always a case of, wow, I'm amazed at what you did for me. And I always replied with what is blatantly true, really, that I did absolutely fuck all, except give you something truly disgusting, emotionally gut-wrenching, and truly painful to break that state-dependent memory, learning and behaviour, to make it so painful that you wouldn't go back to it, so that all pleasure you could ever seek was over here with your wife as you wanted. I hope that makes sense, because that's genuinely all I did, and it took all of less than 10 minutes from the moment of starting to have a chat with him and then sitting down and going through it without any apparent formal hypnotic induction. Although arguably, if you get someone to close their eyes and keep their eyes closed and breathe deeply and regularly in through the nose and out through the mouth, they are hypnotized, because as we said, hypnosis doesn't exist. It exists only in the mind of the believer. And if they believe you're a hypnotist and you're telling them to do that because of their preconceived ideas, they believe that's hypnosis. The moment they believe it is, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy for them. So, yes. You know what? I'm going to actually get a pen. I will return. I'm going to get a pen, because that way today, I won't leave you thinking I was purposely doing nested loops and magic stories and stuff. I will tick things off the list as we go along. So I'm going to tell you a few stories now in this section before the break. Before the end of today, we are going to cover the complete mind therapy structure. If we've got time, we'll cover cured, but if not, we'll do that tomorrow. Tomorrow, we'll be doing hypnotic inductions and suggestibility tests. And Sunday, we'll be doing the guaranteed to work every time tricks for entertainment or marketing purposes plus marketing. So, yeah, we're on track. But as I said yesterday, absolutely everything, every single word I'm going to speak to you is for a reason, and there is a lesson in it. So, firstly, a couple of stories that I openly admit I've borrowed, or NLP would call it, modelled from Richard Bandler. These are stories about Milton Erickson. Well, Bandler and Milton Erickson. Just as a slight side segue, if you've ever heard the name Milton Erickson, Ericksonian hypnosis, conversational hypnosis, he gets held up by a lot of hypnotherapy trainers as being some kind of god. And in actual fact, he was a sadistic, twisted, psychologically screwed up, I would argue evil, perverted cunt. And the evidence of that isn't my opinion, it's in his own words, where he admits in some of his own publications that most people overlook, journals that he wrote, about taking psychiatric patients who are in a catatonic state and leaning them so the heads are kind of an angle against a wall, so they're in a stress position, and leaving them all day. And there's descriptions of, you know, encouraging clients who are female to come in shorter and shorter dresses all the time. If for some reason you would like to actually learn the truth about Milton Erickson, it is in the boot camp in a set called The Biology of Hypnosis. But be prepared to discover that Erickson isn't even 1% of the so-called God he gets held up to be. In actual fact, he was a crap hypnotist, but he was a good publicist. Anyway, I digress. But it's important to know, because don't believe the shit out there about, you must know about Ericksonian hypnosis. Let me tell you, if you were to do Ericksonian hypnosis the way Erickson did, you'd be out of business in next to no time in this day and age, because he'd take fucking hours sometimes, and he wrote that up as being wonderful skill that you know, he had to have a conversation with somebody, and sometimes it could take hours, but they'd end up hypnotized without their knowledge. Oh, for fuck's sake, Milton, just go up to them, grab them by the hand and go, "Sleep, you bastard!" Knock them out and just give them amnesiac suggestions at the end so that they don't bloody remember. And no, it isn't as simple as just telling them that they'll no longer, you know, when they wake up, they won't remember what's been said. That's bullshit. It looks like that happens in stage hypnosis shows. It's cobblers. They do remember. To make them truly forget, you've got to use leverage of some kind of emotional trauma or fear or pain to kind of splinter off part of their mind so that they repress the memory of what's just been going on into almost a different filing cabinet, a different hard drive of the personal laptop computer. It's the same kind of thing they did in MK Ultra to create multiple personality disorders, dissociative identity disorders in people. That is how you create amnesia in people. Make it so that they don't want to remember because it would be too bloody painful to. I do elaborate on that a hell of a lot more in the boot camp if you want to go down those routes. I think I've said enough for now because it's not really that necessary for most hypnotherapy clients or for complete mind therapy. But I just want you to be aware that what most therapy trainers tell you is and isn't possible. They're talking through the fucking arseholes, most of them. Right. However, there were some good things that came out of Erickson. Not many, but there were some. So let's start with, I don't know what the guy was called, so we'll just call the guy, pick a name, Michael. There's a guy called Michael in the psychiatric unit, and he's complaining that he is the devil. And he's been locked up. He's telling everyone he's the devil. You know, that he's the god of evil. All manner of nonsense. None of the group psychiatric works worked. None of the one-to-one psychiatric works worked. Erickson, Bandler, not sure exactly which of them it was, but it's Bandler I heard relate this tale. One day, went, spoke to him, tried some conventional techniques that were supposed to be quite effective, and they didn't work. Bloke was still swearing that he was the devil incarnate. So that night, let's say it was Erickson, left the psychiatric hospital and he went to see a friend of his who was a nightclub DJ. And he hired off him a couple of massive bloody bass bin speakers, some other big speakers, and then he went to another mate of his who had a lift company, and he got generators, a whole bunch of equipment so that he could show up back at night time at the psychiatric unit with this stuff loaded up so he could get up to outside the wall of what was roughly, you know, the 4th or 5th floor where Michael was, and he could position the speakers up against the wall. And during the night, with the speakers positioned against the wall so that Michael in his room would hear anything, but because it was against the wall, it would kind of, the room itself would act as a speaker and it would vibrate and give that echoey sort of sensation. he went on the microphone and he went, Michael? Except Michael would have heard something like, Michael! And needless to say, sooner or later he would have woke up and saw the tail goes. You could hear him scream and go, who's that? Where are you? And then the voice, which remember is really Ericsson on a mic with the speaker against the wall, goes, Michael, are you listening? And obviously it's echoing, but he's heard this booming, are you listening, Michael? And he goes, yes, but he's looking around, he can't see anybody. And the voice continues, this is Satan. This is the devil. And, you know, you could, quite, you know, other than that, like, what the fuck's going on type of thing, silence, go, do you hear me, Michael? And obviously, finally, eventually he went, yes, shit scared, love, because he's looking around, there's nobody in the room, he's hearing this, love, but it appears to be coming from everywhere because the room's almost acting like a speaker. And then he hears the voice go, Michael, I am the devil, and if you ever claim to be me again, you will die! And as you can imagine, the thought that the devil was real, it wasn't anywhere to be seen, and the fact that all the staff were in on it at the psychiatric unit, so when he pressed the emergency buzzer and the staff came and he tries telling them about what's gone on, you can imagine the staff have been told to go, we haven't heard anything, which would have been impossible at that sound level. So he believes that he's just heard, either in his room, only he's heard it, or in his head, the devil telling him, if you ever claim to be me again, you're screwed. Scares the living shit out of him, knocks him out of his catatonic state, and he begs to see the chief psychiatrist, who happens to be Ericsson, who comes to see him. He, you know, fortunately just happened to be there. Well, of course he was outside on the speaker before. But he just happens to be there because he figured that's what was going to happen. He hoped it would. And he goes in, he has a bit of a chat with Michael, and Michael gets released the next day, because obviously when he's interrogated by the psychiatrist then, he starts talking, and he totally goes, I'm not the devil, I will never... And in that split second, and it sounds ridiculous, I have no reason to disbelieve that this happened, because that's mild compared to some of the stuff that Ericsson actually admits to, that I talk about in the biology of hypnosis there. But that's an example of how, literally in a split second, something that this guy had been stuck in, a state, a catatonic state, call it what you will, for years, was reversed. And it was reversed through, boom, fear, through pain, through heightened emotions, through ramping up the pain in a manner where it was so painful to remain in that situation that he had to snap out of it and go back to normality. And that is the key to how this shit works when it does. Another example, very similar, but still bears telling. Again, same psychiatric unit. And there's a guy called Joseph, conveniently enough for this story. Just makes it easier for me to remember. I don't think that really was his name. But he claimed it was. Actually, his real name was probably Barry, let's say. But he called himself Joseph. And he claimed that he was a carpenter and that he was, you know, son of God type thing. Talking proper religious fanatic, but he genuinely believed he was Joseph. He was, he's rather at the time, a carpenter. He's locked up. It doesn't matter what group work he's gone through, what one-to-one session work he's gone through, it ain't happening. So one day, Ericsson Bandler, or whoever it was one of the two of them, credit to them both, love. get dressed up, and they get a couple of the staff to dress up as kind of Roman centurion, soldiery type people. And Ericsson goes into the guy's cell with some bits of, I'm going to say 4x2, but bits of wood anyway, a toolkit and some nails, and he starts and a tape measure, and he goes up to Barry, who still believes he's Joseph, and he says, can you do us a favour, will you, Joseph? Can you just lie down? He's like, well, why? No, do us a favour, just lie down, will you? And he measures him, measures the wood, starts sawing, and this goes on for quite a period of time, until such time as obviously Joseph, or Barry, because he's really not, what he thinks is Joseph, says, what's happening? And Ericsson, in his work clothes, is going, well, you know, look at the calendar, what date is it? And the guy looks at the calendar, tells him that it's Easter weekend coming up. Yeah, indeed, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here, he tells him. We're making the cross. We found you a nice place to go. If you look out the window over there on the hill over there, we've got a lovely place for you to go. And he carries on nailing it together. And Joseph, Barry, as he really is, but he still thinks he's Joseph. He's like, oh. And he's starting to compute this. And he goes, well, that cross for me, is it? Yeah, Joseph. It's getting to that time, you know, on the calendar. You've read the good book, haven't you? Yeah, we've got your plot over there on the hill. In actual fact, at that point, he finished nailing it together. He said, if you can just do us a favour, lie down, and then we can get you nailed on this cross and get you carried out over there. This is the point where, as the tale goes, Joseph, or Barry as he was fast returning to becoming, was shitting himself in fear and pressed the emergency button in his cell. Well, the two staff members are there on standby in the Roman centurion costumes, Roman soldier costumes. They come in. As you can imagine, Barry, aka Joseph, but he's getting much more closer to being Barry now, shits himself even more. What the fuck's going on? I thought I was in a psychiatric unit. Why are the two? He's starting to think about things very differently now. And they grab hold of him and sort of take him towards the cross. So he's really thinking he's about to be nailed to this. And he starts screaming then, put me down! I'm not called Joseph! My name's Barry Cranshaw. I live at 97 Withenshaw Drive, Birmingham. My wife and family haven't seen me. And he starts reeling off his life story, stuff that he's never admitted to while he's been in a psychiatric unit. Basically, Barry is back. Joseph's gone. Barry's back because, and he was released very shortly afterwards, because partly an element of state-dependent memory learning and behaviour, or whatever psychoses or fantasy he had, was played upon, but then it was pushed to a point of fear, extreme fear, emotional pain, ramped up, that the only apparent way to escape is to no longer be Joseph. It's to be what you were running away from. Barry, who, you know, kind of had a nervous breakdown because he lost his job, was made redundant, felt like a failure, whatever. But actually, in that moment, the idea of facing up to that became far less painful than the idea of, am I actually going to get fucking nailed to a cross and bottom that hill over there? What the fuck's going on? There's Roman centurions here. That confusion and disorientation combined with fear most definitely caused critical faculty analytical area bypass, which is what we talk about with hypnosis. But it most definitely ramped up to the pain to such a level that it was a case of, got to leave all that behind and go to what is pleasurable and safe compared to that. So hopefully that makes sense to you. It's another example of what I was talking about yesterday, of how it is ethical to use highly extreme imagery and techniques A book worth mentioning, incidentally, is one called Provocative Therapy by Frank Farrelly. His second name is F-A-R-R-E-L-L-Y off the top of my head. But if you type in Frank Farrelly Provocative Therapy into Amazon, it'll come up. Well worth reading if you truly want to understand, although I hope by now, based on what I went through yesterday and a couple of examples I'm giving you now, that you can perhaps start to comprehend why there can be times it can be quite useful to totally unexpectedly tell the client who sat in front of you, what a fucking bastard of a loser you are, you silly twat. And seem really exasperated with them and call them every name under the fucking sun. To the point where they break down in tears, start to get angry and whatnot. Let me warn you, if you do go down that road to that extreme, as mentioned in provocative hypnosis, you do kind of have to pre-warn the client that you're going to use unconventional techniques. And the way I do that is I tell them at the start of a session, you've come here today for X, Y, Z, fill in the blank with whatever, it doesn't really matter. I need confirmation from you that you 100% genuinely, truly, and sincerely, in every nerve, fibre, tissue, and muscle in your body, from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers. In other words, your entire being, fibre of your being, you genuinely want to overcome this problem. Or you genuinely want to achieve that you haven't been doing. Whatever it may be, you fill in the blank relevant to the client, obviously. Because you want them to enter into, you want to emphasize this so much that when they say yes, they're entering into a real, they call it the therapeutic contract, but this is really ramping it up. And they say, in which case, you need to understand that today, I'm guessing you want to leave here X, Y, Z, fill in the blanks. So that could be a permanent non-smoker, someone who doesn't take drugs, doesn't take alcohol, whatever. And they'll go, yeah, exactly, that's why I'm here. Excellent. And I repeat back to them and say, well, that's good. I'm glad, because I thought it would have been a bit daft otherwise, the fact you paid £500 already for this, the fact that you've had to wait for a session because I'm so busy, I'm ramping up my prestige again, but also in a manner that makes it that if they don't take this seriously and do it, they're going to look a bit of a fuckwit, because why have they wasted so much money and time and all that kind of thing? So we're building up that level again. And I say to them, okay, in which case, before we get started, I need to ask you one final thing. I need your permission, and in fact, I need you to sign this questionnaire. And I'll talk about questionnaires later, but at this point, they've already signed this, but at this point, I'd go and take a pen, and I'd actually physically write out, I authorise Jonathan Royle to use any methods or techniques he sees fit, however unusual, bizarre, or outrageous they may seem. Key word in that, however unusual, bizarre, or outrageous they may be. Because that immediately stirs up curiosity. And I say to them, I need you to sign this. Yes, we're recording the therapy session. I'll talk about recording sessions later in the course. So I've got a video recording of this if you say yes. But I need you to, it means more if you sign your name to this. If you sign and agree to let me use whatever techniques it takes, and I promise you, you'll leave this office alive. And I say that bit with a kind of a bit of a smile on my face so that it gets a bit of a nervous giggle from them. You will leave this office alive. More importantly, you'll leave here for the rest of your life as the person who doesn't touch the drugs, or as the person who doesn't do that, or you'll leave here and you'll be able to do that you couldn't before. So actually, this is what NLP call future pacing. We're already giving them direct suggestions in the waking state before we ever go through any other processes that basically they've left the old life behind, and when they leave the office, the new life is guaranteed as long as they commit and sign, which they do. But when they do, that's heightened the curiosity. Bizarre, unusual, outrageous. It heightens the curiosity, which in itself helps fixate attention, which in itself occupies them consciously, which in itself helps make it easier to kind of get past the nightclub bouncer of the mind, the so-called critical faculty analytical area, and get into the memory banks of the personal netop computer, the unconscious, subconscious mind, call it what you will. It's all bullshit anyway, it's just a construct from psychology. They can't prove it 100%. It's just a best guess, really. But it's a good metaphor for understanding what may be going on. And it does seem to work. So arguably, their eyes are open, it's a waking state. Arguably, we've done an induction through that process. And I'm not going to repeat everything I've just said, because this is videoed, and the videos will be in the group tomorrow. And I want to get through over these 12 hours of the 4 days, what most hypnotherapy trainers would take, you know, every day of the week for several weeks to teach you. Because you don't need to keep repeating it. Just go and rewind the bloody videos and watch it again in the group to get the wording. It's the wording that's important. Arguably, that's a hypnotic induction process because it puts them in a state of curiosity. What the hell is going to be bizarre, unusual, outrageous? A slight element of fear creeps in so much as, what is it? But it's fear that's managed in the sense of you're the perceived authority figure. You've got the certificates on the wall. They've seen the social proof on your websites and your advertising that you're good at what you do and you get people results. And as I mentioned yesterday, the more outrageous something later appears to be, the more they have to rationalise that the only reason you do something so ridiculous is because it works. And because of that, the moment they in their mind say that, rationalise it as this is being done because it must work, they're actually telling themselves that it works. And therefore, arguably, that is the moment that they reprogram their personal laptop computer. I hope that makes sense, because I promise you that is such an important key point. And it'll make even more sense when you refer back to yesterday's training about the way they need to feel, because we are creating the environment as well where they can leave that self-blame, shame, guilt and regret behind. And the processes we're going to use shortly will make them feel loved and special and all that. But first, we need them in that confused, disorientated, hypnotic, if you like to use the word, state. And arguably, doing what I've just mentioned gets that before we've ever got them to close their eyes and start a so-called formal hypnotic induction. It also means, Lord, that later in the session, if you suddenly turn around and go, stop being a cunt, you twat. What? You're just a lazy waster. The best part of you ran down your mother's bloody leg. Are you trying to kid? You're wasting my fucking time, your family's time, your friends' time. And quite often I'll do something like that to really provoke them to the point where they'll go, who the fuck do you think you're speaking to? I'll go on then, tell me exactly why I should bother actually trying, you know, actually spending any more time to help you today. And it puts the back up, and this is particularly good with what I call high-end clients. You don't need to do this with smokers and weight loss and confidence and shit. I'm on about drug addicts, I'm on about sex addicts, I'm on about the celebrities who've got their heads stuck up their asses like I spoke about yesterday. Refer back to that, link the two together, it'll make more sense then. It brings them down a peg or two, but also then they'll suddenly start going, no, you should listen to me because I want to, you know, leave drugs behind because of this reason, and they'll suddenly come out with more reasons than they've ever come out with before. And I'll show you how that can be really effective when we get to the questionnaires later. Because what they allegedly wrote down on the questionnaires being the full detailed answers never is. And if you get the backs up in the kind of manner I've just mentioned, they'll come out with easily another half a dozen, a dozen or 20 more reasons that are really good reasons why they're going to leave that old behaviour pattern behind. And it'll be stuff that they didn't think about when they did the questionnaire. And they'll realise that as they're doing it. And that in itself, arguably, will, in a waking state, be a moment of catharsis, as it is called in hypnosis sometimes, or therapy generally, where they will come to an internal realisation that actually this is closer to the truth, what they're saying now, than what perhaps they put on the questionnaire. As I say, relate that with yesterday's stuff and it'll start to, all these bits will link together like a jigsaw. So, the point is that when you do suddenly offend them like that, somewhere in the back of their mind, they know they've already agreed to allow you to use bizarre, unusual and outrageous techniques. They gave permission, they gave consent, which covers you legally, ethically and morally, but more importantly, it stops you from getting punched in the fucking face. Seriously, because they know that in a normal circumstance you probably would get punched. I've never got punched because I've already got consent. They know they've given me consent to be a twat with them, if need be, for their benefit. And you know what, deep down, most of them want that, especially your business people, the celebrities. They won't bring you down a peg or two. Somebody, they're so too used to yes men. Businessmen with loads of money definitely want that kind of approach. You know why? These are the same men who go and pay for S&M, sadomasochism, bondage and shit like that, because they want to be controlled. They want an escape from being the boss and the pressures of that. These are the kind of people who will go and pay to be an adult baby, you know, and get dressed up like a bloody baby and shit themselves, well, you know, and have somebody breastfeed them just so they can regress and escape from the realities of the world where they're the boss. People, that I'm talking about men generally there, but it applies a lot of women. Controversial, you're going to call me a cunt, no doubt, a lot of women. I'm telling you now, lots of women that go to see a hypnotist, if they choose to go and see a male hypnotist, it's probably because they get something of a psychological sexual kick out of it. I'm not saying they would actually sleep with the hypnotist, they certainly shouldn't. The hypnotist shouldn't be bloody doing that, because that would be abusing their position and would be illegal, immoral and unethical. But I mentioned yesterday how Paul Brady mentioned to me, blanket to cover the legs, real motive to get them so warm they go to sleep, but also to stop you from getting too much of an upskirt distraction. It really does happen. It really, really does happen. Because of all those cliches we talked about yesterday. So, imagine you're in a zoo. And you're walking around and you happen to stop at the gorilla cage. And you know it's a gorilla cage. You can't see any gorillas at the minute, but it says gorilla cage on the thing, and there's pictures of them and the details like they do in zoos, where they come from, what they do, and there's the obligatory signs up, don't put your hands through the fence and all that, they're dangerous, and all this, all the warnings are there. And then you see a couple of gorillas come out and they get a bit close to the fence, but you naturally tell your kids, whoa, back off, don't put your hand through. And you naturally have a sense of caution, a nice word for fear. But then you see the zookeeper walks up and says, oh, it's all right if you want. Just, you can put your hands through the fence, whatever, you can ignore that sign. They're not dangerous, you know. And now you get a bit confused and disorientated because, well, why is the bloody signs up saying they're dangerous then? But the zookeeper, who surely should know, because he's the zookeeper, we've seen him on the local news programme, in the local newspapers, he's definitely the zookeeper, he's telling us it's fine. And this conflict goes on. Well, the signs are there for a reason. Logically, yeah, but they're big, they're dangerous, I've seen it on TV. But no, but the expert here is saying it's all right. And you end up kind of in that fight, flight, freeze state of what the fuck's going on. I'm describing things that are probably split-second thought processes, okay? And the zookeeper realises that you're kind of going through that thought process. Said, oh, no, come here, let me tell you something. See that gorilla over there? That's actually Dave. Normally works in the accounts department. You see, what it is, our gorillas, they're away being treated at specialist vets. So today, so we wouldn't disappoint the customers, guy from accounts is dressed up in that gorilla costume, and another one in that gorilla costume. You know, but you're not convinced because they look bloody damn good. This. So the zookeeper goes, John, go on, show him. And suddenly he just lifts up this fake gorilla head, gives you a wink, puts it down. And in that split second, any fear or any mental imagery that had been conjured up that was telling you, don't go near the cage, it's dangerous, just immediately in that second, gone. Because you've seen. Now, it shouldn't rationally necessarily go immediately, because what about the other gorilla? You didn't see under the head, but your brain's rationalised it and said, well, if John from accounts is okay, it must be because he knows that that's actually not a gorilla, it's someone else in a costume. And that tiny little piece of information you weren't aware of before can change your entire perception and your entire physiological, emotional, and psychological reaction to what you think you're seeing. That will become hopefully more relevant very shortly. Well, right now, in fact, because when I talk about taming the ape, and metaphorically there, you have just tamed the ape because it wasn't an ape. And once you knew that piece of information, the whole scenarios and bits that were linked to it that your brain had conjured up, fear, disappear and are gone, have collapsed because of one new piece of information. So it can be with someone who's got a long-term phobia, habit, addiction, fear, whatever. Giving them one tiny piece of information, or more relevantly, allowing them to conjure up one tiny piece of information for themselves that puts a different perspective, NLP will call it reframing, but a different perspective, a different view, a different total belief system within them in a split second about everything that before caused negative connotations. By one tiny little bit of information, it can cause all those triggers to actually have the directly opposite effect of helping motivate them to continue to be the way that they've now become once they've stepped foot in your office. And that is the core of what is going on in the structure of a complete mind therapy session or a psychological therapy session per se, when there is something going on more than just an important seeming ritualistic process, placebo triggering, all the stuff we talked about yesterday. So, APET, that's ape and the letter T, which stands for, mentally in my mind, ape, and then the letter T is tamed, so you're taming the ape, or it can stand for A, and then PET, a pet. This next section of the training is a bit shit, a bit scatological. It's about poo, it's about excrement, it's about shite, dung, call it whatever you want, manure, whatever. It's shit. So, but it's true. It's true shit. Some regards, it's heavy shit, man. But seriously, APET, ape tamed, or it's a pet. Apes do a lot of shits. In fact, they tend to throw it in zoos at the glass and stuff and stick the fingers up the bums. It's like they're doing it on purpose. It's the moment you're trying to take a picture with your kids, isn't it? They come up to the window and go, look, I can stick my finger up my arse. I'm a big monkey, all right? Don't know why, but they do. They do. Got nothing to do with the seminar, that. It's just they do. And pets, when they're young, okay, shit all over the place. They have to become house trained. Well, your thoughts and stuff inside your head, especially if they've got any connection or link to what occurred in the formative years from 0 to roughly the age of 7, like we talked about yesterday. And quite often things do, because it's that that's created the person's program that's running in their mind that sets their levels of how they feel about themselves in terms of self-confidence, self-image, self-control, self-esteem, which are all based on the way they did or didn't feel, as the case may be, fully loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished and valued as they were growing up, which set that program, which then in turn causes their reactions, perceptions, understandings and beliefs of the rest of things that go on in their life to be perceived, reacted to, based on that program that was formed there. Which is why yesterday I talked heavily about we need to build up their self-confidence, self-esteem, self-image, self-control. We need to build up their feelings of self-worth and self-love. We need to almost make them become a little bit selfish, but I mean positively selfish, okay? Because being selfish is a good thing. Most people with problems don't spend enough time for themselves or on themselves to make sure that they do feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, and all the things we spoke about yesterday. So the kind of selfishness I'm talking about is the kind with good intent, the kind that for the bigger picture brings better results for everybody. The kind that's like when a plane's crashing and the oxygen mask comes down, you might at first sight, think, oh, I need to get that on my kid. It would be selfish to put mine on first. But they tell you in the safety announcements at the start, should that occur, put yours on first, because then that way you're not going to pass out and you're then capable of helping all the rest of your family get theirs on. So in that scenario, it is far better for everybody to be selfish in order to be able to be selfless afterwards. And so it is in everyday life. And yeah, I know when we generalise, there's people out there who'll, give them an inch, they'll take a mile and all that. That's not what we're here to talk about. But generally speaking, you need to pay, your clients especially, need to pay more attention to themselves, their feelings, their perceptions, their beliefs, arguably, metaphorically, their computer software. And you as the therapist are going to go in, kind of delete the negative programs that are running and give them some antivirus software for the mind that they can run on an automatic daily basis through repetition of listening to the audio recording we spoke about yesterday, that becomes just as effective, in fact 10 times more effective than if they were in the room there with you. And yeah, that then becomes their new reality and helps through repetition give them the thought processes, the beliefs, the perceptions to things that are from the new perspective of the new programs they're running, rather than the feeling perhaps a gap or an imbalance in one of those areas we spoke about that was instilled when they were younger. And inner child therapy, which I'll talk about later, so I'm just going to write a note to myself, can, when you get a really problematic client, if you choose to end up in that situation or it unfortunately happens to you, can become very useful. But for the vast majority of people, CMT is all you'll ever need. So yeah, APT or APET, it stands for, A is for activating agent, which could also be activating agent. It's the thing they see or hear or taste or smell or feel or think about, get reminded of maybe. It's the trigger. P is for pattern matching, because when we have an experience, it goes into the filing cabinet of the brain, the computer bank. And when we see that trigger or image, our brain unconscious goes, look through the filing cabinet, look through the filing cabinet. Oh yeah, there's a picture of a spider like the one I've just seen. How am I supposed to react? Oh, last time I was really scared. I better be really scared this time. And in that split second, it creates the letter E, the emotion of fear, which is that feeling the person suddenly gets. And as they, in the same moment they get that feeling, it creates the letter T, the thought. And that thought is, for fuck's sake, I need to get out of here and get somebody to remove that spider in that scenario. Because of the way they've been linked up through the pain and pleasure we talked about yesterday. So what our job is, we can't realistically remove the activating agent permanently, because we can't guarantee they're never going to encounter seeing a spider again. Okay? I know there's some scenarios where if someone's got a phobia of, I don't know, phobia of sharks, and quite simply don't watch films with sharks in, don't go to SeaWorld and don't go places where the sharks. Could be an option. But let's just say it's stuff where there isn't that kind of simplistic option, because they might see a spider. So we can't really do much about that. So what happens when they see a spider at the minute? The brain goes, look for the picture of the spider. What happened last time? Oh, I got shit scared. That creates the emotion of fear, creates the thought of better get out of here. That's all happening in a split second. So the bit that we need to change is the filing cabinet of the brain. So that when they see a spider in future, the brain does its thing. It goes, spider image, pulls it out, looks at it and goes, it's all right, it's a laughable spider. It's got, you know, Wellington boots on every leg, a big clown's nose on, a silly party hat. In fact, it's dressed up like it's a male spider, it's dressed up like a female spider, it's a drag queen spider, it's hilarious. And that triggers off an emotion of this is laughable, ridiculous and silly, which creates the thought of, I wish I'd got over this years ago. I'm so glad they don't bother me anymore. Because the reaction's completely different because of the way it's wired up. So the key is the image in here. And the unconscious, subconscious mind, call it what you will, the filing cabinet, your personal desktop computer's hard drive, works on visual imagery. And that's why, and I repeat myself again, I know I do, but it's so important. The more ridiculous, bizarre, outrageous, surreal, unusual that the visual imagery is that you can create to override the program that's already there, because that program, remember, they've got the pattern matching bit. It's currently got a lot of emotion attached to it, either positively or negatively. And the reason I say positively or negatively, I'll explain. Obviously, it's negative in the spider example, but in their brain, they might currently have it, you know, justify it to themselves as being positive because it's keeping them safe. The false thing. Although rationally, consciously, they know they're going to be fine. But knowing that consciously on its own is not enough, because the program that's running is far stronger. And when the imagination, and MLQA said this as well, it's the law of reversed effort, what resists persists, the whole thing about try that I mentioned yesterday. When the imagination and the human will or conscious mind are in conflict, the imagination will always win. And if you want to prove that to yourself in a most interesting manner, that's an A4 sheet of card. But go and get, I'm going to try, this is ridiculous. No, I can't get my leg in the air that far, so I'm not going to try anymore. Imagine my foot's that big, it's slightly bigger. But you can see that, generally speaking, there will be absolutely no problem safely standing on something this width. No chance would I, if that was flat, steady and firm, slip off that way or that way, because there's plenty of room. And were there a nice thick wooden beam, but on the floor that was maybe 20 foot long, I'm sure everybody would be more than happy to stand on it and walk across the wooden beam, because there's loads of space either side of the foot and it's really solid. Nothing to be scared of. It's not going to break. You know for a fact it can't break. It's nice thick solid wood. It's thicker than most bridges and it's plenty wide enough for your foot. Trust me, most people will quite happily do that. Now, if that was to be supported i.e. one end of it, but on the side of this skyscraper building, and the other one but on skyscraper building that's about 18 foot away, so there's a good foot of overhang either side so that the board is completely steady and firm. And you know full well you can safely walk across this because you've done it numerous times while it's laid on the floor, but now you are 20 stories in the air. But the weather forecast has been done. You've got the best experts in the world that prove to you that it's not windy, you're not going to get blown off. That in every possible way, other than the plank, is not on the floor, it's across two buildings. So for the 18 foot in between the two buildings, there's nothing either side and nothing underneath for that 20 stories of height. There are very few people on this planet. Tightrope walkers, not a problem. People who are already programmed psychologically for extreme sports, not a problem. But there's very, very few people who would, A, be gutsy enough to give that a go, because although their conscious mind will go, it's a piece of piss, this, and even if you offered them like $1 million, most people wouldn't attempt to do it, because even though consciously they're going, it's no different than it being on the floor, and it really isn't in this example, but their unconscious mind will start to conjure up the image and focus on, well, if I did fall, 20 stories, I'd be dead, splat, and it conjures up that horrible mental image. And in a split second, in the back of their mind, they will have been shown an image of them splattered like a pancake, blood and guts everywhere. Like I talked about, extreme imagery. That's what we're wired up like as human beings. And they would be saying to themselves, having an internal battle, I could do it and try not to fall off, but the moment they say try to themselves, they're entertaining the possibility of doubt, and then ultimately, most people just wouldn't even try it. And of the ones that, if people did, the vast majority would probably fall off, purely because they'd entertained the possibility suddenly it was possible, and there's no logical reason why they should, because of what I've already explained. Such is the power of negative, in that case, negative suggestion. Such is the power of emotion. Such is the power of extreme visual imagery, which is why I talked about the things I did yesterday, and I will be doing later with CMT, and that is why I say, fuck what your conventional arty-farty therapy courses may have told you. The more extreme, outrageous, unusual, bizarre, and sickeningly painful the imagery can be, with positive intent to help the client, the far better, more rapid, and long-term results you are likely to get for them. And that's very important when you're looking at that ape-tamed or APET. You've got to change the pattern matching, and the more extreme the image, because the one they've got at the minute is they want to get rid of. So that's already got a lot of power and energy connected to it. So it needs more power and more energy to obliterate that one and get replaced. I hope you can see the logic and sense in that. I promise you that that is such an important key here. Okay. Shout out to a friend of mine, Carl Smith, who runs the UK Hypnosis Academy. He's only been doing therapy for a handful of years. I'm not saying that to be offensive. I'm just saying that, you know, I've forgotten more than most trainers out there ever will. But he's come up with a title, a name for his therapeutic approach, which, to be honest, the simple fact is there's nothing new under the sun. All the approaches that actually truly work for the reasons that I've told you yesterday, I'm telling you today, and will tell you over the next couple of days. It's just most of the people training them don't understand that fully themselves, because if they did, they might actually have the balls to teach their students to actually be a bit more ballsy and gutsy with the visual imagery and the suggestions and the stuff to get better and more consistent results for the clients. But they don't know. Hey-oh. Anyway, he called his rebranded package of stuff that's been around forever and a day Kinetic Shift. And no offense, it works for him just as well as anything works when you do it right. But it always makes me giggle inside because I said it's always about shit. And it's the metaphor. Kinetic means movement. Shift means movement. And when you go to the toilet for a shit, you have a bowel movement, okay? Also, strangely, quaintly, coincidentally, shift, take the letter F out, and it becomes shit, which ties in with the bowel movement. And you could metaphorically say that a client, when they come to you, we know really it's about them letting go of that self-blame, shame, guilt, and regret, leaving the baggage behind and going out and doing what they could have always done themselves. So it's like getting rid of the shit or getting their shit together. The reason you hear these phrases in everyday life is because metaphorically, deep down, people know unconsciously they are the ones who need to get their shit together, or they are the ones that need to leave shit behind. Metaphors people use in life, you know, say someone's a pain in the neck, you know, they've got a pain in the neck, often it can be associated with the place where they feel that pain. It could be the workplace, it could be their unconscious trying to tell them, get a different fucking job. And the movement, kinetic and shift, again, is movement. Well, that's what you're doing with any form of therapy. That's why I say there's nothing new under the sun. You're getting someone to shift from one set of thoughts, feelings, emotions, perceptions, beliefs to another. And you're doing that through the manipulation of pain and pleasure, positive and negative, as we spoke about yesterday. And I've given you more examples of today, I hope, that have made sense to you. So then, when that movement occurs, when you've gone for a right good shit, it feels like a massive weight off your mind, you know? Doesn't it? You know, you feel like, hey, feeling good, fantastic. And that's what the therapeutic process is. Your client comes to you constipated. We give them some words, metaphors, some crazy shit that lets them literally get rid of their shit and really, you know, leave all that self-blame, shame, guilt, and regret behind, so they can leave your office feeling a hell of a lot lighter, leaving it behind. Continuing with the shit theme, and don't bother spending money on learning kinetic shift. No offense to the technique, but the fact is, by the end of this 4 days, if you study the stuff that I'm giving you free with it as well in the group, you'll know how to do every therapeutic technique on the planet anyway, because you just look at a video of somebody doing it on YouTube and you'll instantly know how it's done, because they're all just important seeming crazy rituals that have no particular real worth in them, other than if the client attaches worth to it, which they're likely to do if the important authority figure says with enough conviction and confidence, and that they rationalise it therefore to themselves that they must be doing that crazy illogical shit for a good reason, and that logical reason must be because it works, at which point they've convinced themselves that it does work and therefore it becomes their reality. Okay, I've got written down here BLS, havening. Havening, a technique that Paul McKenna's used quite a lot in recent years. In fact, if you go on YouTube and type in Paul McKenna, havening demonstration, there is a lovely little demonstration where he teaches you through the screen how to use havening with the BLS, which I remember BLS, the letters, as standing in my head mentally for big load of shit. Big load of shit. BLS. But as you'll see when you watch the video, actually it stands for beach, lawn, steps, to remember the order. But I'll tell you what, you'll remember the order better now that I've told you it's big load of shit. I'll tell you, honestly you will, because that further proves that weird imagery sticks in your head more. They use it with memory systems called mnemonics to remember full decks of cards, World Memory Champion. It's a lot easier than you'd think. If you're in the boot camp, there's an entire course teaching you all that stuff and demonstrating it. If you're not in the boot camp, I predict a lot of you will be by midnight on Wednesday, because you'll want to save yourselves thousands of dollars and pounds on what it usually costs. So with havening, what you'll see Paul do is effectively tell the person to take a nice deep breath in, close their eyes, and try and get a sense and a feeling of that problem, that issue, that you know, the emotions connected to it. And then he'll get them to open their eyes, and they'll go on a scale of 0 down here to 10 up here. Okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, how high up that scale would you say it is right now? Those thoughts, feelings, you know, all that. And the person says maybe 8, 9, 10. Sometimes they say 11, but it's a high number. And then he says, okay, look at me, give yourselves a kind of a hug, okay? But what you're actually doing is, sorry, When I say hug, it's like that. What you're going to do is kind of rub up and down the side of your arm. So I'm making sure that camera can see, and now I'm going to make sure this one can. So they're going to rub up and down the side of their arms, albeit they'll be against the chest when they do this. It's just obviously for the sake of the webcam, I'm going to show you that. But when you see it on the office cam, that'll be replay tomorrow, you'll see it more clearly. But they're rubbing up and down the side of their arms at the same time as which, so he's doing that and he gets them to do that 10 times. Well, at the same time as they're doing that, he puts his finger out and gets them to stare at his fingertip. And he says, when I move my finger that way, you move your eyes that way. When I move my finger that way, you move your eyes that way. So whilst they're rubbing their arms up and down like that, at exactly the same time, they're also going left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right with the eyes, as he's telling them to imagine, in the first instance, as he counts from 1 to 10 or 10 to 1, I forget, you'll have to watch the video, that they're going along a beach. And then he does another round or repetition of it, where again, arm rubbing, eyes following, but this time they're going along a lawn with fresh dew on the grass. Actually, I woke up this morning, I looked out the window, there was a heavy dew on the grass. He must have got chucked out of the synagogue for swearing. I don't know. If there's any Jewish people watching, sorry if you're offended, get a sense of fucking humour. Right, anyway, I'll offend everyone by the end of the weekend, I promise you. Yeah, the point was, so big load of shit. Beach, lawn, and then, again, still rubbing, eyes to the left, eyes to the right, to the count of 10, steps, going up steps to their new life, or down them, I forget which way Paul does it. Personally, I'd definitely say it would be going up the steps, because you want the metaphor of going upwards towards something positive and new. Whereas going downstairs is more going down to sleep at night. The hypnotic suggestion, that's like that way, going down the staircase for the hypnotic deepener with the hypnotic induction process. And at the end of this, it will say to them, okay, now close your eyes and just try. Now that's ML Coué's law of reversed effort again, anyway, that we've already spoken about. Just try to get a sense of a feeling like you used to be able to do before, like you used to be able to do, is disassociation in one regard, making out that they can't do it anymore, and it's future pacing the idea as well that the reaction's going to be different. And then just open your eyes, look at me, on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 down here, nothing. Sorry, 10 up here is the worst it ever was, 0 down here, nothing. Whereabouts on that scale are you right now? And invariably, they will give a lower number. It can be a much lower number, or it could just be a bit lower. But the moment they do, they genuinely believe a change has taken place, because the proof is they've got a lower number because they felt different. They've got some proof, some tangible evidence. Hope that makes sense. And that's why Havening's been so successful. But I'm going to give you the key to how it works right now, so you don't need to waste a fortune on Havening training. The first thing I recommend you do is go on hypnosisweek.com, www.hypnosisweek.com, or go on magicalguru.com and click on where it says Hypnosis Week. Then that will take you to YouTube. On YouTube, on my Celebrity Hypnotist channel, there is a playlist called Hypnosis Week. In there is an interview I did with Stephen Travers from Ireland, a wonderful, nice guy. He is the European head of training and promotion for Havening. He appears with McKenna at the Havening conferences. He's the top guy for Europe for Havening. And I interviewed him and I put it to him that Havening is nothing more than a placebo effect, important seeming ritualistic process, that it's only real worth, and I'm going to tell you one of the secrets now, is that when you rub yourself like that, you're effectively giving yourself, when you get in that kind of straitjacket position, we'll call it, with the arms moving, yeah? You're giving yourself a hug. And consciously, you know it's you doing it, but your unconscious mind doesn't. It feels as though you're being given a hug by somebody else. It feels as though you're getting sensory touch from somebody, which, in a hug scenario, releases, genuinely, physiologically releases the chemical oxytocin into your body, which is a feel-good chemical. Now, it has other benefits as well. For example, I can tell you for sure, anyone who's in the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp, if you look at the, I think it's the Hypnotism Exposed video set, but it's one that was at a London seminar. There is a professional midwife for many years in the audience. She confirms everything I'm about to say to be true at that event. And that is that where the birthing process, if a woman's waiting to have a kid, you can make them, you know, if they're over their due time, you can speed up the process of them actually starting to have the child by oxytocin getting released, which can happen through hugging, or as she related at the event, I kid you not, it's on the videos in the boot camp, but we often send out the pregnant ladies off into the hospital grounds where there's some privacy and tell the husbands to give them a good old bit of nipple play, because that also releases oxytocin and promotes a more speedier and less problematic birth. But we're not here to discuss hypnobirthing. You can learn about that in the boot camp with backup advice from a midwife of many, many, many years experience. Sorry I keep feeding these what appear like adverts for the boot camp in, but they're not. They're actually valuable bits of information for you. So that's, I put it to him that oxytocin release, yeah, will make them feel good. And that's being anchored to the positive metaphors of, you know, you're walking along the beach, it's lovely and warm, it's a lawn in the morning, but you make the description that it's lovely, and you've got to paint a picture with your words, a positive one. But if you leave it to them to imagine a lawn, they could imagine a muddy one that's really horrible, or covered in broken glass bottles. You've got to paint a picture and guide them. That is what you do. Your words are your paintbrush as the hypnotist. And then, of course, the steps, but metaphorically rising up above that bothered them in the past. They're going up the steps to their new reality. Arguably, that is what's going on metaphorically and therapeutically with Hayden. In truth, there's a part of it, and I put that to him, and he can't admit that I'm 100% right because he's the European Director of Marketing and promotions and all that and training for Havening. But if you know even the tiniest bit about body language, just watch the interview I did with Stephen Travers on Hypnosis Week. And I promise you, you'll come to the conclusion, I'm the one telling you the truth, that it's just an important seeming ritualistic process. And the real ploy, the real trick, which I'm going to tell you before the break, we've got about 7, 8 minutes till the break, covered hugs and oxytocin there. Oh, the moving eye bits in Havening is akin from and model from, so to speak, so-called EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprogramming or reprocessing, which again, frankly, is just an important seeming ritualistic process of getting the person to stare at either a pen or your finger or maybe a bright LED torch and tell them to follow it with their eyes when you tell them to, and you go, follow the torch, left and right, 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 left and right. And now just close your eyes and now blink fast, blink fast, blink fast, blink fast. And now look at the light. And left and right, left and right, left and right, left and right. And close your eyes and blink fast, blink fast, blink fast. And now look at the light, left and right, left and right, left and right, left and right. And now close your eyes and now blink, 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 blink fast. Close your eyes and try to get a sense of a feeling of what it was like before when it used to bother you. It used to bother you. That's disassociation, disconnecting, and the suggestion of future pacing is now different. You could argue, and yes, because there might be some worth in that, we do it. However, the big trick is the 0 to 10 that I'm about to teach you. That is the trick that changes the game. Now, I can tell you now, a lot of the people who teach Havening, EMDR, and other therapeutic approaches that use what they call SUDS, the sensory units of distress scale, do not, all of them, use what I'm about to teach you. But I guarantee you this, if they did, they will be better therapists getting better results more consistently and more rapidly. Because I like to see what other people do, take it, tweak it if it needs it, and make it even more powerful and more psychologically tricky, almost. Okay? I'm not going to go through the full example I've given you. I'm just going to give you the bit at the beginning. So before the session, the client has to rate with their eyes closed a mental image of that problem they came with that's now not going to be an issue when they leave you, but to try and get a sense of a feeling of how much it bothered them in the past, when it really was an issue in the past. They close their eyes. They open their eyes and you go, okay, I'd like you to imagine on a scale of 0, and 0's down here, nothing, and all the way up here is 10. The worst it ever was in the past when it really used to bother you. Almost like really pulling your hair out. The worst it ever was. Real extreme. How high is that number now that you just dissociated? And I guarantee you, more often than not, you will get a 9, a 10, or they'll say 11, 12. It's off the scale. Excellent. Whatever it is, you write it down in front of them or ask them to write it down. So there's a visual proof that that's the number they said. And you say to them, is that really true? As though you're accusing them of being a liar. Is that really true? It was really a 12 or it was really a 10, yeah? And they go, yes. So they can't deny that. So that's their benchmark now. You then do your important seeming ritualistic process, which is especially for TV and radio shows. You might only have 5-10 minutes with them maximum backstage before you go back on air and have to show whether it's worked or not. That's why things like havening, arm rubbing, eye movement with the thing, cobblers like that can be useful because it's quick. And it will work because of the reasons we said before, and some that I'll tell you about after the break as well. But it will work immeasurably because of this one. Whatever you do in the middle is not really that important. It's what happens at the end when you say to them, and now just close your eyes and try to get a sense of a feeling like you did before. Only notice how much different it is right now. That's an immediate command that it's going to be different. And try implies they won't be able to do it the same as they did. And then you say, now open your eyes. Now look at me. On a scale of 0 to 10, 0 down here, 10 up there. On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the worst it ever was in the past. And 0 down here is nothing. Gone completely right now. How low is that number gone? I'll do that one more time, because this is worth the price of the entire course. At the beginning, before any ritualistic process that comes in the middle, whatever that is in the middle, doesn't matter. At the beginning, close your eyes and get a sense and a feeling of what it was like in the past when it's been the worst for you, this issue, whatever it may be. Now, and that's saying get, which implies they can do. Now, open your eyes. On a scale of 0 down here to 10 up here, 10 being the worst it ever was in the past, like ripping your hair out, feeling really bad, the worst it ever was, ever could be. How high up is that number now, was it, in terms of what you felt? And you notice I'm physically pointing upwards. I've told them 10's here, and I'm pointing above 10. That's why quite often they'll say higher than a 10. But they're going to give you a high number. But don't worry if they only say a 6. As long as at the end you get a lower number than the one they give you at the start, to them it's psychological proof that a change has happened that's genuine, because they've got evidence, tangible evidence, because they feel different. So you then do your important seeming ritualistic process, and afterwards you go, okay, now just close your eyes and just try, MLQ's law of reversed effort, just try to get a sense of a feeling like you used to be able to do in the past, used to be able to, disassociation, implying you won't be able to, as it once was when it used to be at its worst, used to be, implying again. Notice how much different and better that feels right now, direct command, and then just open your eyes, look at me, and on a scale of 0 to 10, with 10 up there being the worst it ever was in the past, like pulling your hair out, the worst it ever was, and down here is 0, nothing, gone completely right now. How much lower is that number right now? 99.9% of the time occurring, they will give you a low number. When they do, you get them to write it down. And you say, look at that. Before you were a 9, 10 or 11 or whatever, and now you're a 7, 6 or 5 or whatever they say. Wow, that's amazing. Look what you've managed to do in the space of just a couple of 2 or 3 minutes. Imagine if you've been able to do that in just 2 or 3 minutes, what you'll be able to do within the next 60 minutes of the time we've got together in this office here today, or over this Zoom interaction, or whatever. And they look at it, they see the numbers, they know they felt them, they know they've told you the truth. And to them they go, fuck me, this is real. They see the evidence, it's changed for them. But it always had to, because the middle bit was just ritualistic process. At the beginning, I said that zeros down, I told them they'd be able to get a sense of a feeling, but I told them that on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 to 10, 0 down here, visually show them it, 10 up here, the worst it's ever been, like pulling your hair out, the worst it's ever been, and I'm pointing upwards above that invisible number. How high up is that number now? So non-verbally, I'm telling them, tell me a high number. And at the end, I've done the opposite. I go, try, which is implying they won't be able to. I use all that disassociative language, which I don't need to repeat because you can watch the videos back when they're in the group tomorrow. And then I go, okay, now open your eyes and look. On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 up here, the worst it ever was in the past when it used to bother you, almost like pulling you out, the worst it ever was. And 0 down here, nothing, and I draw a 0, so non-verbally it's nothing, but I also raise my voice a little bit, nothing. And then suddenly, as I make this arm movement, I shout, gone completely now. Gone completely now, because it suddenly said louder and forcefully, becomes a pattern interrupter, as called in NLP, and can bypass any critical faculty, go straight into the unconscious mind. There's a powerful hypnotic command to get rid of that issue. Gone completely now. How much lower is that number right now? And I'm not verbally saying, say a lower number. Without fail, they have to. And if they don't, you just go through the ritualistic important seeming process again until they get fucking fed up and say a lower number. Once they've said a lower number and they write it down and look at it, and you say to them, you're telling me the truth, aren't you? That number's gone lower, hasn't it? Yeah. Look what you've managed to do in the space of just 3, 4, 5 minutes with my help. Imagine what we can do together. And the reason I make it into you've done in that space, what we can do together, and rather than it all being about me, is because although I want them to have that ability to go, he helped me do this and leave the luggage behind, when their friends and family aren't there watching, I want them to feel a sense of empowerment and help increase their self-worth and increase those feelings that we spoke about yesterday with everything we do. I hope that made sense. We've run ever so slightly over the 1/2 but I'll look at my laptop. Actually, on my laptop, it is 9:29. It's my watch that's fast. So I've actually managed to keep to time. So we're going to have a 15-minute break. We will start 15 minutes from now, which will be 9:45 p.m. on my laptop. Thank you very much indeed. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves as long as you all go back on silent when I start in 15 minutes' time. Cheers. Thank you, beer arrival. Excellent.
I've been stood there like 5 minutes, you know. I was thinking, should I just pass it through?
Stop that for now.
Oh my God, it's hot.
I told you it gets hot in here with that LED light. You wouldn't think,
It's really hot.
but I can touch that and it's not hot. Right?
I don't want to go on camera.
There's no heat at all. When you touch it, well, the bloody well is, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Magic or tricks, you decide.
Tricks, don't believe in magic.
Psychological.
It bloody well isn't, I can tell you. I've got plenty of antiperspirant on and deodorant,
Really hot in
but you
here.
won't want to be in this
Honestly.
office.
It's roasting.
And there's no radiators on for
It's
a
like
change.
a film studio hot. You've moved your rug again.
It's happened again. That's because I'm talking. I don't know.
Your voice makes
I'm
rugs
walking,
move.
me walking left and right moves the carpet tiles around, it moves the rug. Ah, it's not visible on camera that anyway, but it just makes it's nice and comfy for my feet when I'm stood up. That's what it's about. Ah. No thanks, I've got beer. That's excellent. I've turned that off. I'll have a bit of a beer and then I'll pop to the loo just before 1:45 before I start part 2.
Shall we stand there and say nasty things about Stu?
I can hear you.
I know.
It's Michael. So I can hear you. I think he's gone to the toilet or he's gone to get himself.
Oh, it's no fun if you
drink.
can't hear me.
I can hear you.
You know I'd only say it to your face if you were here.
That's true. I was just considering whether it's a cup of tea or time for a beer.
Have a beer, Stu.
I seem to have cut down a lot on the beer recently for some reason.
Are you not training to be a professional alcoholic like everyone else on lockdown?
Looking, there's a few people.
Seriously, I've cut down my drinking by about 10 times.
Do you know that Alex actually said he'd much rather charity shops reopen than pubs if he had to choose?
I get that, yeah.
He actually gone to the point that, you know, pubs aren't that necessary.
Well, certainly the ones around here, anyhow.
For those that I've noticed are here today that were unable to make it live yesterday, hopefully you managed to catch up and watch yesterday's videos. If you haven't, please try to do, well, not try to, please motivate yourself to do so tomorrow, because then what I've said today and I'm saying today will make at least 100 times more sense, because it's delivered in what seems illogical at the time but becomes logical order to stack together to make more sense as we go along.
Yoda, you are doing nothing.
We've done that. Where am I up to? I've taught them number 1 to 10, Ploy.
Do you want to come and say goodnight to your giant?
I will. I'll come and say goodnight to the...
I think she's outside.
What?
In the garden.
All right, okay.
Which has got a padlock on the gate. Just leave her.
Everyone's very quiet today. Everyone was having a chin wag yesterday. Ah, excellent. Right. So next section. That. Oh, should get that done in about 15 minutes. Then talk about questionnaires, and then he says, where is it? Oh, yeah. Nice. 7. Oh, excellent. 8 minutes to go. Back to the asylum. Just reading something. My dog does a lap of honour after having a shit. Even dogs love getting rid of their shit. Nice one, Brian. I'm just looking at some of the... My reckoning, another 4 minutes, and then we will reconvene. Oh yeah. That's that recording again, that one. Yeah. audio. Recording. Time to make it. Another 3 minutes. 3 minutes. And then we shall begin. 3 minutes. So I better not scribble this out too much because I'm going to need it for next month. Yeah. It's a very good point. I dropped, stop moving. Okay, on 1 minute warning. 1 minute, and then we shall begin day 2, session 2, or session 4 out of the 8, depending on how you wish to look at it. Okay, it's pinged 1:45 on my laptop, so we are going to start again. Needless to say, if anyone's still in the toilet or something, you'll just have to watch the replay when it goes into the group tomorrow, which it will do. So, okay, where to begin this section? I think we'll mention the fact that I've spoken about havening briefly. I've deciphered what so-called EMDR is. There are numerous systems out there that are classed as meridian energy systems. Now, they will openly admit that they can be used in conjunction with hypnosis and hypnotic suggestion and all that kind of stuff. Some of them will even admit that a lot of it relies on hypnotic suggestion. The truth is that if you do that 0 to 10 ploy that I mentioned to you earlier, what you do in the middle is irrelevant. So it makes a mockery of it. And I've interviewed on hypnosisweek.com. Again, go to magicalguru.com, click on Hypnosis Week, go on the Celebrity Hypnotist YouTube channel, find the interview I did with Dr. Colin Barron, who paid £100,000 United Kingdom sterling, and I believe that was in the late 90s or early noughties. So it was a lot of money, $100,000 sterling even rather, to get the voice technology system from Dr. Roger Callahan, who created a thing called thought field therapy, a meridian energy tapping system. And this voice technology system that he paid £100,000 for, and apparently enabled you over the phone to analyse someone's voice, I gather, and then compute for you to be able to tell them where to tap on their body, in what order, to deal with the issue, essentially. And you'll see me on that interview blatantly say to him, seriously, £100,000 sterling to buy a box of wires that's nothing more than a placebo effect. Again, if you study body language, well worth watching, you'll see that I'm right. What you do in the middle is bullshit. But I do a thing quite often, certainly for TV and media stuff, that I call CMT again, but not complete mind therapy. This is complete mind tapping. Okay. Now, some of this you will see better on the replay video tomorrow that will go in the group, because one of them will be the one camera that's in my office, where you can see on the camera in my office down to kind of just above my belt on my trousers, whereas on this webcam you can only see to here. So you'll just have to imagine you can see me tapping my belly button. But I use a system called complete mind tapping after studying EFT, emotional freedom technique, TFT, thought field therapy, and all the other forms of meridian tapping systems that are out there. I've studied them all, tried them all, taken the best from each, put it together. I've come up with complete mind tapping. The advantages it has are this. You're going to learn it now 100% free of charge. So it saves you potentially £100,000 of voice technology from TFT. The advantage of it is you do not need to work out what algorithm, as they call it, so it's fancy words and sounds impressive and scientific, what algorithm, or rather what order of places to get the person to tap. Whether they're on the telephone or for Skype or Zoom or we're live with you in person, you're only ever going to get them to tap in the same places, and they are easy to remember. I'll kind of take you through it. You know what I'm actually going to do for the sake of this? Give me a couple of moments and I will be back. I'm just getting the step ladder. I've left it till tomorrow when you watch the replay, but you're not going to see my head now on the internet, but when I need to, I can go up the ladder. So, excellent. Right. Complete mind tapping is this. Well, imagine you are the client. If you want to do this at home, do it. Well, you can do it because it genuinely will work. This is one of my more serious things, because it's got, you know, we're dealing with meridian energy points in the body that with acupuncture they put needles in. But you tap them roughly in the right area, it can have a bit of a stimulatory effect, cause a little bit of a chemical release in the body. That when that feeling of feeling good happens, you can anchor that to your words that you're giving, your suggestions, your hypnotic commands, so that then something they're genuinely feeling, the chemical release becomes reality because of the psychological idea. They believe it's a genuine change happening. The moment they believe that, then it becomes their reality, like we've explained before. So, yeah, what I would say to them is close your eyes, take a nice deep breath in through your nose, and then out through your mouth. And just get a sense and a feeling of that issue, at the worst it was in the past, the worst it's ever been, when it really, really bothered you. Just get a bit of sense of a feeling of that. Then open your eyes. I don't want you to get, you know, really emotional about this. It's like you're watching it from afar, but you can, like an observer, but you can get a sense of the feeling of it. Excellent. Now open your eyes. And remember that 0 is down here, nothing. 10 up here is the worst it ever was in the past when it really bothered you, like pulling your hair out really, really bad. How high is up that number now? Let's say it's a 10. Excellent. Okay. We've got meridians in our body. You've probably heard of acupuncture, but that, you know, don't worry, not everyone likes needles. This is much safer because we're just going to stimulate the meridian energy points that are vital to our healing with our fingertips. So I'd just like you to take from your right hand, your forefinger and middle finger, so you've got 2 together. Yeah. And then what I want you to do is tap kind of here, the psychic third eye area, kind of there. You can, some people know it as the the crown chakra, the psychic third eye. It's kind of in line with where the pineal gland is, which is shaped like a pine cone, which it's why you're not supposed to, you know, use fluoride toothpaste, because it crystallizes that and makes it less likely for you to be able to use your spiritual psychic third eye if you believe in that stuff. So just tap there 3 times. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Excellent. And then you're going to hit your base chakra energy point. Your base chakra energy point is one in the office. I'm going to go a bit higher. Is just here, just below your belly button. So 1, 2, 3 on your base chakra energy point. That's excellent. And then 3 on your right shoulder. 1, 2, 3. Just in that bit where your shoulder reaches, where there's a little kind of a dip there. And 3 on your left. 1, 2, 3. Then 3 on your top lip. 1, 2, 3. Then hum happy birthday. Excellent. We've done that once. We've got to do it 2 more times. So let's do this a bit more rapidly. Psychic third eye. 1, 2, 3. Base chakra. 1, 2, 3. Right shoulder, 1, 2, 3. Left shoulder, 1, 2, 3. Top lip, 1, 2, 3. Hum. And one more time. Psychic third eye, 1, 2, 3. Base chakra just below the belly button, 1, 2, 3. The dip in the right shoulder, 1, 2, 3. Dip in the left shoulder, 1, 2, 3. Top lip, 1, 2, 3, and then hum. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose. And out through your mouth, just close your eyes and try and get a sense and a feeling of how it used to be in the past when it was the worst it ever was in the past. And notice how different that feeling sensation is right now. When you've got a sense of a feeling of how different that is right now, just open your eyes, look at me, and remember that up there's 10 as it was, you know, kind of in the past, the worst it ever was, when you really pulled your hair out type of thing. And down here is 0, no, 0, nothing, gone completely right now. How much lower is that number right now? And that's the process of complete mind tapping. Now, if that number's mega low, I might say, excellent. Does that, you know, do you feel any discomfort at all at that level? If they say no, I'll say, so you'd be happy to continue your life with it that low for the rest of your life. And when they say, yeah, that's it, therapy done, the cured. If it's not, you know, if it's gone from a 10 to an 8, you might have to do another repetition, another round of the tapping, but in sets of 3. The power of 3. Triangles are made up of 3 sides. The pyramids, which were originally the Egyptian sleep pyramids, where hypnosis suggestion first comes from. Power of 3. It's the conscious, the analytical critical area, the unconscious, subconscious mind, 3 parts of the brain. There's the past, the present, the future. That's why you always see politicians when they're doing speeches. They'll tell you what they're going to say, they'll say it, and then they'll tell you what they've just told you. It's the power of 3, repetition. Also, with something daft like getting them to tap, 3 times psychic third eye, base chakra just below the belly button, right shoulder, left shoulder, top lip, and then humming happy birthday, and doing that 3 times. It seems so ridiculous that surely the only reason you get people to do that is because it's got some therapeutic value, and because the psychic third eye is an energy point, a meridian, as is the base chakra located just below the belly button. It really is. There's books out there, New Age Galore will tell you that's true. Right side of the body controls the left side of the body, the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body, the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body and vice versa, hence we get both sides tapped. Top lip, it's just the face, it's the whole area. And then humming happy birthdays, because birthdays, generally speaking, have a positive connotation for people. Some people will have bad memories, but don't worry, that is why we use certain phrases that I'm going to teach you in a moment to avoid any potential negative connections. Positive inner. Just to remind myself of the 2 really key phrases. By the way, a lot of what I've just told you is complete and utter bullshit. Or it's true if you want to believe it. There are books that will tell you your psychic third eye is there, it's where the pineal gland is. And it is. That's not why I'm tapping it. There, it's just because it's an easy memory aid for me, as I'll tell you in a minute. And the base chakra is located just below your belly button. And that is your right shoulder, that is your left shoulder. And yes, there is some truth that the left side of the brain apparently controls the right side of the body, and the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant, but people have heard about it and it's said in books. So it sounds believable, because for this we don't use science, because science cannot explain what I do. Instead, we use pseudoscience, okay? And that can explain what we do. The truth is this, that I remember it because of this saying. I remember where to tap them, and it doesn't matter what their problem is, I always get them to tap in the same place. They don't know that. They think I take a few moments to go, okay, with that issue you've got, the best thing to do would be to tap here and here. They don't know that the last client I saw had a totally different problem, and I get them to tap in the same place. They perceive it as though I've prescribed, if you like, a unique algorithm for them if they've read any of these wanky books on meridian therapies. They don't know. What they don't know can't hurt them. In fact, it can only help heal them, because it makes them believe that something special is taking place. What I'm really doing is I'm getting them to tap 3 times in every area because of the power of 3 and repetition, and because it seems so ridiculous that it must therefore have some worth to it. That's the rationalization of psychological process. And I'm kind of remembering it by the old gag about the Catholic Church, how they pray, which is spectacles, testicles, wallet and watch. So spectacles, testicles, wallet and watch. That's what I'm remembering in my head. Spectacles, testicles, wallet and watch. And then, I can't believe I'm saying this, I better shut up. That's why it's on the top lip. And then, you know what? It must be my birthday. They're actually paying me to do this nonsense. And I always have a quiet giggle inside when I get them to hum the happy birthday bit, because they're paying me a vast amount of money for this nonsense. And that's how I remember it. Spectacles 3 times, testicles 3 times, wallet 3 times, watch 3 times. Can't believe I'm saying this 3 times, hum happy birthday, and do it in total 3 repetitions, 3 rounds of that algorithm, but in conjunction with the 0 to 10 ploy that I've taught you, which can be used with any important seeming process in the middle. It works amazingly well, and it can be quick for TV and radio shows and public demonstrations, or it can be quick at the start of a longer therapy session, because somebody books, say, an hour with you. They're used to booking an hour of a professional's time. You know, solicitors charge by the hour or part thereof. Legal consultants do. Lawyers do. High-level surgeons and medical consultants charge by the hour, private ones. So they're used to that. So that gives you a connotation psychologically of being on the same level as these professional types when you're charging for at least an hour of time. The truth is, you could in 5 minutes have got rid of their problem because of all the stuff we explained yesterday, because this process would enable them to get rid of that self-blame, shame, guilt and regret. But then they might think, I paid a hell of a lot of money for this, and they might feel as though you've not paid them enough attention. And they might not feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated. I won't repeat it all, but the stuff we talked about yesterday. So in order to make them feel worthwhile, they need special attention paid to them for about an hour at least, so that they can rationalise to themselves what they paid for, so that they feel special, so they can feel the magic wand that I talked about yesterday. So they've got long enough to have a bit of a kip on the couch to go to sleep, because you've turned the heating up and you've dimmed the lights and all the other stuff I talked about yesterday. So the process in the middle, whether it's EMDR, which I've taught you the core essence of, or tapping therapy, I've taught you my version, complete mind tapping, it works. Or whether it's hugging, do that, it'll work. You don't need different algorithms for different things. You only need that if you believe that and transmit that belief to your client. If you believe that you only need one process, but you transmit to your client that you've come up with something specific and special to them, they don't know any different. You just pause a bit of acting. Excellent. So that's your issue. You know what? I think the best algorithm for you, the best process will be to tap here 3 times and here. If you do it with enough conviction and confidence, they'll buy into it and believe it. Look at the diplomas on your wall that you've got, the ones that I'm giving you with this course, and maybe the other 18 in total that you can get at the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp that relate to all those different logos I showed you yesterday. Yeah. those phrases low. So at the beginning of the session, it can be the proof to them that you've taken the issue that was high numbers, gone down to a lower number, and then you can say to them, which means that, look at that, you've gone from a 10 to a 6 already in a few minutes. Imagine how easy this is going to be within the next 45, 50 minutes that's left of the session for you and us together to bring that down to a 0, exactly where it's gone completely and perfect for you. That makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah? And you nod as well, and they go, yeah, it does. They're accepting the fact that that reality, your future pacing, and that reality will happen. It's logical because they've seen some evidence already. And you're going to use, maybe before you do the full complete mind therapy session, one further convincer that convinces them totally that when you, the hypnotist, give them suggestions, or rather commands, of what will take place, of what they will imagine, what they will think, what they will feel, etc., that when they then imagine it in a way that feels right for them, and I'll come to what that means in a minute, that it becomes their genuine reality. And the reason they will not bother to resist or question that on the critical faculty analytical area will be bypassed, the so-called, if you like, nightclub bouncer of the brain that's stopping people getting to the computer hard drive in case they might damage it, when in actual fact we're going to wipe the bad stuff out, put good stuff in, and antivirus software for the brain in. It's because they've seen undeniable evidence and they've experienced it. They cannot deny they gave this number and had a feeling that was at that level of number, and then a few minutes later they had a lower number because they had a lower feeling. A genuine change has occurred. They cannot argue it. They know for themselves. They are a believer. Praise the Lord. As they will be more so when you do something such as this. I'll try and do it. It's a little bit awkward for me because on this camera, you'll see it better on the other camera on the replay, but on this camera, you're only getting me to here, whereas if you saw my waist, it'd be better, which you will tomorrow. But if you listen to my words, it should make sense. The convincer I use with clients, unless they're in a wheelchair, although I might even use it then. It's just that they would have to do it while they're obviously sat down. Couldn't use this with someone who's got no arms. That's about the only limitation. Is I would say to them, okay, what we're going to do is a little bit of an experiment. I just want you to see for yourself how powerful your intelligence, imagination, and concentration is, and how effectively and rapidly your powers of mind, this is buttering them up, making them feel good, all the stuff we talked about yesterday, can create instant, genuine, long-lasting changes in your body and your mind and your life. Okay, that makes sense, yeah? Because if we can do that now in the space of a couple of minutes, so that you tangibly can see a genuine change take place, something that you once thought would be difficult or impossible to achieve, genuinely proves itself to be so ridiculously easy, that then you'd know, wouldn't you? You'd have total faith and confidence that the work we're going to do here today together will be 1,000,000% successful for you, yeah? And when they say yes, it's that therapeutic contract. They're buying into it more. Arguably, it's eyes open hypnosis. Especially it will be when they have their moment of confusion and disorientation, which they will have in a few moments' time. That moment where the critical faculty analytical area will go, I fucking give up. I don't know what's going on. This is like a miracle. At which point, arguably, their eyes open, hypnotized, even before you get them to lie down on the couch or sit in the chair. And I say to them, okay, excellent, take your right arm. That's this one, for those people watching, your right arm, if you want to join in and do this at home, it's your right arm. Take it, place it out in front of you like so. Then make a fist, but please do not hit me, okay? That's excellent. Then place your thumb up in the air. That's wonderful. What I'd like you to do is stare directly at your thumb. Put your feet together so they're touching, feet side by side, toe to toe, heel to heel. If you do what I've just told you verbally, you will be stood the same as me, with your feet together, side by side, heel to heel, toe to toe. And what you're going to do is your arms outstretched, your right arm outstretched in front of you all the way. Your thumb stuck up in the air. You're going to stare directly at your thumbnail, the back of your thumbnail. And on the count of 3, what I want you to do is turn in what will be for you, as you're looking at your thumb, a clockwise direction, okay? And you're going to turn, move your arm, and follow your thumb with your eyes and your head as far as you can in a clockwise direction until it becomes the least bit uncomfortable. This is not about proving what kind of a Superman or Superwoman you are. I don't want you hurting yourself. The moment it becomes the least bit uncomfortable, I want you to stop it. But the key thing is that when you do turn your right arm, staring at your thumbnail, in a clockwise direction on the count of 3, I want you to do so that you are keeping your feet together, heel to heel, toe to toe, your legs together, and that you're rotating just at the waist. So you're not moving your feet or your legs, you're just rotating at the waist, and go as far as you can until it becomes the least bit uncomfortable. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, following your thumb with your eyes, going further and further and further, following your thumb with your head and your eyes, stopping the moment it becomes the least bit uncomfortable, and then look past your thumb and remember what you can see in the distance. For me, it's a black line on this, between the 2 pieces of wood, and then follow your thumb back with your eyes. Excellent, then just close your eyes down, and take a nice deep breath in through your nose. And then out through your mouth. In through your nose. And out through your mouth. And now in your mind's eye, I'd like you to just imagine in a way that feels right for you, that it's almost as if you can see an image of yourself doing what you did before. Okay? It's almost as if you can see yourself stood there, heel to heel, toe to toe, legs together, rotating only at the waist with your arm outstretched, looking at your thumbnail as you turn your right arm and your thumb in a clockwise direction. As you do that in your mind's eye, I'd like you to imagine doing that, following your thumb with your eyes, just like you did before, and going further and further until you get to that point where before it felt a little bit uncomfortable. But in your mind's eye now, I'd like you to realise that as 100% total reality is you use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, as I'm sure you will. You can find that in your mind's eye now that you feel no discomfort whatsoever. In fact, something you once thought would be difficult or painful in the past to achieve is right now in your mind's eye proving itself to be so ridiculously easy that it's almost laughable as you amaze yourself in your mind's eye and see yourself going much further than you did before, moving your arm and your thumb much further in the clockwise direction to the right, following it with your eyes, going further and further in your mind's eye, and tell me when you've gone further in your mind's eye and feel fantastic about it. Excellent, so you've done that. In which case, open your eyes, feet together as before, heel to heel, toe to toe, legs together, rotating only at the waist, right arm out in front of you, make a fist, thumb up, you're going to stare at your thumbnail, on the count of 3, you're going to turn your arm in the clockwise right direction, like you did before, following your thumb with your eyes and discovering new reality. 1, 2, 3, going further and 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 bring it back. Now, I hope that was visually obvious. I'll do it again to people, but I've gone one hell of a lot further there. And if I didn't know how it worked as a client, I'd think, what the fuck's just gone on? Before, I was kind of seeing the black bit on the background, and then this time I was able to pass my thumb, say, all the way over here. What the frigging hell happened? It felt so much easier the second time. Okay, it's a trick, it's a scam. You're going to love this. But it's presented to them like anything I present, as though it's down to, I suggest things with my words, you, the client or volunteer, imagine them and use your powers of mind effectively, and when you do, your outcome, your reality will be changed. So that when you then get some genuine, tangible evidence that something is different than it was before, your critical faculty, analytical area can only go, telling the bloody truth. I'm not needed here. This person says stuff. If I choose to imagine it, it becomes my reality. And the moment they believe that, then the suggestions you commands you give them will become their reality. The scary part is that if they believe you enough, just like a cult leader can get people to be their sex slave or to kill other people, you genuinely can make people do things against their will with the basic principles of psychology I'm teaching you here. I hope that you will only use them for good, ethical, moral means with positive intent to help people. I take no responsibility for those that may not. Okay, so what's going on? Was it a miracle use of words? Well, a little bit. There were some wonderful phrases in there that are great to learn as a therapist, that are adaptable to many situations, which I will cover in a minute. But what's really happening is this. Yes, they are genuinely stood, feet together, toe to toe, heel to heel, legs together. They are genuinely just rotating at the waist, okay? And they are with the right arm out in front of them looking at the thumb. Here's the thing though, play the video back when it's in the group tomorrow. That way I don't have to waste loads of time now. And you will see that the first time I said, stare at your thumb, and on the count of 3, move your arm in the right clockwise direction. Follow your thumb with your head and your eyes. And stop the moment it becomes the least bit uncomfortable. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to follow my thumb. I'll have to move this way a bit because I've got a wall in the way. But I'm going to follow my thumb with my head and my eyes. And you know what? I get to that black line again. And I can't go any further. You know why? Because my neck won't go any further. My head won't go any further. I'm not a fucking owl. I'm a human being, as the clients are. There comes a point that if they're following their thumb nail in the clockwise direction with their head and their eyes, and they're only going from the waist because they're keeping their feet together, they're following the thumb with their head and their eyes, they have to stop because they can't move their head any further. And for me, that's that black line. But the way it's been presented, they think that they've just stopped because it became a little bit uncomfortable, which implies they could have gone further. No, they couldn't, not doing that, unless they were an owl, because there comes a point where you can't move your head any further. The middle bit's just visualization, getting them to imagine the idea of doing it, and that's why we use the phrase, it's almost as if you can imagine in your mind's eye. The reason I use the phrase, it's almost as if, is because if they're not a person who sees things clearly in their mind, or thinks they don't, or sees things in black and white rather than colour, or doesn't see things at all, rather is one of those people who perhaps says it to themselves. So you say, imagine something in your mind, and they verbalise it, or, you know, it's different for everyone. But by saying it's almost as if, means whatever they do feels right for them. Especially when you follow up that phrase, it's almost as if, with the phrase, in a way that feels right for you. It means they can't get it wrong. Whatever they do is what you expected. There's no resistance. And the fact is anyway, this is just an important seeming ritualistic process. It's just to convince them that when you say things and they visualise it, that it will become their reality, so that when they get the result in a minute of going much further and thinking, how the frig did that happen, they attach it to the fact they visualise what you said. It isn't, it's because of the way you get them to do it the second time. Because when you get them to open their eyes, they're still stood, feet together, heel to heel, toe to toe. They still put their arm out in front of them. They still look at the back of the thumb. What you say to them on the count of 3, I want you to do just as you did before. I want you to follow your arm in the clockwise direction, staring at your thumbnail, and follow it with your eyes as far as you can. Now, you know, because we've done it recently, actually the first time we told them to follow their thumbnail with their eyes and their head. We're now reframing it and creating a false memory to them, which after the event will just remember that they did it the same way both times. Trust me, they do. And you go 1, 2, 3, start going that direction, following with your eyes. You can go further and further and further and further and further and further. Yes, I can. My head's still in the same place as it was last time, but guess what? My eyeballs can move, as my arm always could have done. So it's nothing special. That's one element. And the other element is the first time they warmed up the muscles of their body when they did the twisting exercise. The second time, as with any stretching exercise, they can do it a bit more because the muscles and the joints are already warmed up. But they come to the conclusion that you, the hypnotist, said things, they visualised them in a way that felt right for them, and boom, they had a new, genuine, tangible reality, which removes all resistance, all doubt, and makes them truly believe. Praise the Lord, hallelujah. And that, which I call the eyes follow the thumb convincer, which I teach in great depth in the fast track hypnotherapy course that you've got free access to. Oh, we've covered tapping systems, so I can cross that off the list. Yeah, the phrase is, it's almost as if, and the phrase, in a way that feels right for you. You could waste loads of time finding out what the client's sensory representational system is, as NLP calls it. whether they're visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory. That's whether they see things, hear things, feel things, smell or taste them. You could, and then you're supposed to talk in terms of them, you know, someone who says, oh yes, I see what you mean. Yes, that paints a much clearer picture, is obviously very visual. If you talk in visual terms, apparently it's supposed to have more impact upon them. Or someone who says, yes, I like the sound of that. Hey, that's got a nice ring to it. Is auditory, and you're supposed to talk in those terms to kind of influence them more in persuasion. I think, frankly, that that's bollocks. You can do it if it gives you some sense of confidence. And I think that's all it does, especially with these covert hypnosis courses and seduction and stuff. I think it just gives the person a sense and a feeling that they've learned something special, they've got some kind of power, and it gives them a bit more confidence to do what they could have always done, which is just to open their mouth, be nice, and have an intelligent conversation with the opposite or same sex, whatever turns you on. But, and I've had a mental block there. But yes, you could do that, or you could just go, fuck it. Let them fill in the blanks for themselves in a way that feels right for them. So give them whatever suggestion, but before you do, say it's almost as if. Then give them your suggestion or visualization, and end up by saying in a way that feels right for you. That way, it's almost as if means if it's not glorious technical, or it's not black and white, or they're talking to themselves rather than visualizing, that, well, it's almost like what you said. So they never feel it's wrong. It's working. It can never fail. And by at the end, but in a way that feels right for you, it gives them permission for doing that. And when they feel good, they feel loved, which goes back into all the stuff we talked about yesterday, helping them leave behind that self-blame, shame, guilt, and regret. So, another lovely phrase to tag on to suggestions, especially if they've got any kind of potential emotional major trigger force to them that we spoke about and given examples of before, is in a calm, safe, and secure manner. It's the power of 3 again. Calm, safe, and secure. I use this especially with like the staircase of relaxation, the deepening technique. Imagine yourself going down the staircase with 10 steps. Some people could be shit scared of heights. They might live in a bungalow on purpose. And you mention a staircase, suddenly they could have an abreaction, i.e. an abnormal reaction. A fear, a scare, what the fuck's going on? I don't want to think about that. But if you very quickly say, I'd like you to imagine it's almost as if you're at the top of the staircase, but it's a calm, safe, and secure staircase in a way that feels right for you. It's almost as if means, well, it's almost like a staircase. They could choose it to be a lift if they wanted, or they could choose it to be whatever the fuck their mind conjures up, that to them fits with being calm, safe, and secure, and in a way that feels right for them. So it will always feel right, safe, calm, safe, and secure for them. It will feel, so it will work better. You can't possibly get better than that which the client has conjured up for themselves. Other than when you're giving them direct painful suggestions, but then you're going to do it in a manner where the clients come up with it themselves anyway, because you're going to use the answers they've given you to the questionnaire, which I'm going to cover before we get finished tonight. So, important phrases. Remember those. It's almost as if. Give you a suggestion. In a way that feels right for you, that's calm, safe, and secure. And when you look at the non-specific complete mind therapy treatment script that's in the downloads that I've given you access to, you'll see I use those phrases a hell of a lot for exactly the reasons that I've just explained. But they're in there at the right times for maximum impact, to allow the client to fill in the blanks for themselves in a way that's right for them, feels calm, safe, and secure, so it avoids reactions and that avoids resistance, which leads to acceptance and belief and change of perceptions and reality, because they're already convinced by their thumb having gone further at the beginning of the session, and by the number going down either through tapping or eye wiggling shite or having a hug or whatever you choose to do. The ones I'm giving you as examples are what I've used on and off for the past 30 years. Genuinely. You don't need lots of tools in your toolkit. Fucking therapists that go, I'm going on another seminar to add some more tools to the toolkit. Well, you're going on a seminar because you're a fucking dickhead who wants another piece of paper on the wall. You want bits of paper, 18 of them, that are fully accredited, endorsed, approved and accredited by the United Kingdom Board of Clinical Hypnotherapy, the Mind Care Organisation UK Limited, International Practitioners of Holistic Medicine, Personal Development Associates USA. I could go on. They're approved, endorsed and accredited by a whole bunch of companies. You can get cheap insurance. There's no yearly fees. Just join the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. Well, the discount's there till midnight this coming Wednesday. And hey, you've nothing to lose because it's got a full 1 year, 100% satisfaction money back guarantee that no other hypnosis trainer on the planet has got the balls to offer you. Because it's a guarantee that says you will earn at least £12,000 or $12,000 or 12,000 euros more bottom line profits, not turnover. Turnover's vanity, profit sanity. More profit within 12 months of joining the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp from your hypnotic skills than you did in the previous 12 months before joining. And given that till midnight on Wednesday, you can get in for 197. Most of you are already in the bootcamp anyway, so please don't join again. But the ones that were not, for 197 till midnight on Wednesday, that will never be repeated. You can earn that back with your first therapy session. Anyway, power of 3. We covered that. I noticed that's on my list and I've not put a line through it. The repetition. Like the stage hypnotist, your hands are locked, glued, welded, cemented, bolted, fixed together. It's either the power of 3 or 2 lots of 3. It's bang, bang, bang. It enforces in those suggestions. You're saying the same thing, but in several different ways. Locked, glued, welded, cemented, bolted, fixed. It works. Repetition is the trade of the hypnotist. Because that's what people expect it to be. We talked about expectations yesterday, and rather than blowing them out of the water, going with their incorrect expectations and preconceived ideas and providing that so they feel the magic wand's been there, so they feel like they've been in that deep zombie trance state, so they wake up at the end of the session going, what the hell, I've been out of it, what's gone on, and genuinely believe they've been hypnotized, the magic wand's been changed, and given that at the beginning the thumb went further, that the number came down when they did the tapping or the hugging or the eye movement in, there's only one logical conclusion to them. They're cured! Praise the Lord! They can leave your office and leave all that self-blame, shame, guilt and regret behind with you. The baggage, emotional baggage, left with you. They've got the excuse and the permission, the context and the safe environment to do what they could have always done for the fucking selves. If it wasn't for the fact that their little inner child voice, that program running in the personal laptop computer that was formed more than likely from the age of 0 or 7, or if it was formed by an event after that, it was the reaction to that event after. The reaction to the event was based on the programming from 0 to 7. So if they didn't feel fully loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished and valued, if they didn't develop 100% levels of self-confidence, self-esteem, self-image and self-control, and thus didn't create perfect levels of self-worth, self-love, okay, then that's how they're going to react to things in later life based on that 0 to 7 programming. So we need to go in, as we spoke about, with ape-tamed or apet and change the pictures in the filing cabinet so that they react differently and so that they do feel like they're a worthwhile, positively empowered individual capable of anything and everything in life. And that metaphor we're giving them through the session as well, because we're saying to them, look, wow, look, in the space of a few short minutes, you've gone from a number 10 down to a number 6. Imagine what we can do over the next 50 minutes together. We can do way much better than that. Well, that was amazing, wasn't it? When they say yes, and then their arm goes further, well, their thumb does. They get a genuine, tangible piece of evidence that something, again, has worked. That's the number 2. Then logically, the third thing will, and the resistance has gone. You've already got critical faculty bypass before you ever start closing their eyes, so-called formal trance induction. And ta-da! The rest is just killing the time and boring them to sleep in a dim room with aromatherapy relaxation, oils burning, with winky-wanky relaxation music in the background, the blinds closed, either just a candle light or a dim lamp, blanket over the legs, you want them really warm. Basically, then boring them with a progressive relaxation induction, the scripts, in the fast track hypnotherapy package and in the cured and CMT package. I'll cover it briefly before the end of this course, but it bores them to sleep over a period of about 15-20 minutes. Then you give them the suggestions, because there is some evidence out there in the world that when we're asleep, sleep learning can work, that stuff can still, you know, be, people in comas can still hear things and stuff. I don't care whether that's true or not, but if there is some truth in it, maybe, possibly even a little glimmer, then it behoves us to read the rest of the script, because it could still go into their mind and have another therapeutic level. But the truth is, even if we didn't, they'd think we had when they were brought round and thought they'd been in the zombie state, and that's all that matters. What they believe changes their reality in a split second. Really, really, really does. Okay, this next little technique I'm going to teach you, the way I teach it, I genuinely believe it's mine. I've not seen it in any books. And believe me, I read books going back to the 1800s on mesmerism, magnetic therapeutics, as it was once called, suggestive therapeutics, and a whole bunch of other winky-wanky names it used to be called, before it ever became hypnosis. And yes, I'm telling you now, this is in a book called Hypnotherapy by Dave Alman. It's a green cover or blue covered book. You don't need to waste money buying it, because the only bit that's really of worth in the book is what I'm about to teach you. And in fact, I'll teach you better than Dave Alman does in the book, because I'm not even sure Dave himself realised what a powerful technique he'd latched upon. Or maybe he did and he purposely kept it back for himself, because Dave Alman was a stage hypnotist in music hall times before he was a hypnotherapist teaching doctors. But in his book, that was meant originally for emergency staff in emergency rooms, it relates a tale of somebody showing up with severe burns and they were in extreme pain. And he had to act in seconds, less than a minute, to help with hypnotic techniques to lower that discomfort rapidly for the individual. And he would go up to them and he'd immediately find out the name. What's your name? Excellent, John. What's your favourite hobby? Do you do any sports? Is there something you particularly like doing? And in this example, they might say, I love playing tennis. Say, John, close your eyes. Think of the best ever tennis match you've ever had. Imagine it's almost as if it's in glorious technicolor. Notice how good it felt when you scored. Another point. See all the things that you really enjoy about tennis, yeah? Does that feel better? And in that split second, he's kind of got to say yes, and the authority figure's pattern interrupted. What the hell's going on? What's this nonsense? So you kind of go, well, yeah, a bit. Why? Because just so long as you continue playing tennis in your mind's eye at all times until I tell you otherwise, you'll realise that the discomfort you're feeling reduces rapidly with each second that passes by. We're no longer using the word pain. So by immediately changing it to that discomfort is reducing rapidly. The idea is he's got the person close their eyes, go inwards, which arguably is hypnosis. Visualize something that they really enjoy. So therefore, when they're enjoying doing that, they've got state-dependent memory, learning and behavior. It would be when they felt pleasure, when they felt relaxed, calm, confident, enjoyment, the direct opposite of pain or discomfort. So he's eliciting those positive feelings to help distract from the pain the person was feeling. And then he starts to talk in terms of discomfort rather than pain. So it's a suggestion that it's reducing. And it genuinely does work. And he had great success with it. And I looked at this and I thought, either A, Dave Alman purposely didn't share what I've worked out with anyone because he knew how fucking brilliant it is. And I am going to blow my trumpet here and say that this is worth, I paid $47 for this course. I mean, if this ever does sell on video, if it ever does, it's going to be at least $500 just for this course alone. And that will be a bargain because people can earn it back with 1 or 2 therapy sessions. Well, this one technique I'm going to tell you in the next 5 minutes is worth $500 alone. So confident I am in that I'm going to tell you this. If you like this technique and can see the power of it, how useful it is both for hypnotherapy, stage hypnosis, street hypnotism, public demonstrations to get therapy clients, going into corporate companies, in fact for TV, radio, media, for any possible situation you could ever find yourself in. If you can see the power in this, then I promise you that inside the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp, there is stuff that is 1,000,000 times better than what I'm about to teach you. And as I said, until midnight on Wednesday, you can get it all for just £197. So here is the thing. Dave Alman, I think, probably did know this and just kept it back on purpose, because he was a stage hypnotist as well as a therapist. I looked at that and I thought, great technique, slight pattern interrupt, there's a slight element of disorientation and confusion, what the hell are you on about? And there's a logical element of, well, yeah, if you get them thinking about something they enjoy, then, you know, it's going to have that state-dependent memory learning behaviour factor. And then there was the one bit that I've left off, that he tells them, just so long as you keep playing tennis in your mind's eye in that example, yeah, the discomfort will continue fading down lower and lower, more rapidly. And you can just prove this to yourself by continuing to play tennis in your mind's eye. Now, that's kind of weird language. You can just prove this to yourself by continuing to play tennis in your mind's eye. Deciphered, what that's kind of saying is, keep playing tennis in your fucking mind's eye, otherwise you'll start feeling pain again. But if you mention the word pain, that could be a negative suggestion. But deciphered, that's what the computer in the, you know, is kind of interpreting it as. It's kind of saying, so keep doing what I fucking told you and you'll be fine. Don't do it and you won't be. Go on, prove to yourself you're not a stupid fucker and do the logical thing of doing this right. That's what the meaning of that innocent phrase gets interpreted as, okay? And I thought, that's it. You just need to be able to do that. Fuck a long courses on street hypnosis. Get this. You go up to somebody, you take the hand, you place it against the wall. There's a wall there, it's not on camera, I'm afraid, but against the wall, or on the head, okay, on the head, yeah? And you say, excellent, just close your eyes. I'd like you to imagine in your mind's eye that someone's taken the world's strongest super glue and they stick the palm of your hand to the top of your head. So it's, look, glued, welded, cemented, bolted, fixed in place on the top of your head. And just so long as you use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, as I'm sure you will, then you will find that you are able to prove to yourself you've done this correctly and that your hand is now stuck to the top of your head. Go on, Dave, just prove to yourself you've done it correctly and just try to lift your hand off your head. If you can't, the more you try, the more it sticks. Just try. The more you try, the more it sticks until I stamp my foot on the ground and then your hand comes off your head. And that is what will happen. And if you want to see a prime example of it, go on magicalguru.com, click on my therapy page on there, and you will see a video of me doing a whole bunch of stuff with a random stranger where I've not done any pre-show work with them, I've not done any formal hypnotic induction, and I stick the hand to the head, make them forget their name, make them not be able to count, say, I'll think the number 7, make them think they get an orgasm by rubbing the finger, all through just suggesting it to them, tell them what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and telling them that so long as they use their powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, which deciphered means I'm actually saying to their unconscious mind, you're a thick fucking bastard with no intelligence, imagination and concentration if you do this wrong. Onus is on them. But it's not perceived that way by the audience or people watching. Then you'll be able to prove to yourself that you've done this right. Which means if they do it wrong, the audience don't think you've cocked up, they think the volunteer has, which means you can never fail. And when you know you can never fail, you can have extreme confidence. And that extra confidence will be transmitted to the person and make you a more powerful hypnotist immediately because of that positive intent and the fact that you know you can't fail, you're not worried about it, because the only person who can look daft is them. And then Almond's wonderful phrase, just prove to yourself you've done it correctly. Just prove to yourself that you can't say your name. Go and try and say your name. If it's on the tip of your tongue, you can't say. Don't matter what it is. It can be the legs stuck to the floor, the hands are locked together, the hands stuck to the lamppost. It doesn't matter what it is, because you've told them what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. Get them to visualize it in their mind's eye with their eyes closed, open it, and then prove to yourself you've done it right. Ta-da! Instant stage hypnosis, instant street hypnosis, even with skeptical twats who are awkward fuckers, because they realise at an unconscious level that if they don't do it, they end up looking a cunt. You don't, they do. And you can amplify that, because if anyone doesn't do what you do, you go, oh dear, never mind, off you go and join the other rejects in the audience or something, if it's a hypnosis show. You make them look a bit daft. So that anyone who's left on stage thinks, I'm not going to look stupid like that, and they become more compliant. And, you know, social compliance kicks in even further, and obeying the authority figure, perceived authority figure, the hypnotist. But hey, apart from the fact that they've already got the perfect excuse to remove all self-blame, shame, guilt and regret, make a tit of themselves without any blame coming back on them, because you made them do it. But I promise you that, which I call Almonds, just prove to yourself, you can use that to lock people's legs to the floor, hands to the heads, hands to tables, you name it. You can practically do a complete hypnosis show using that technique. It won't look quite as clean as a conventional hypnosis show, but you know what, another hypnotist, but to the audience, they'll be as impressed as anything. I know, because I've done it when I've been having a bad night with shit volunteers. And you can too. Built in at the start of that Almonds just proved to yourself bit was linked in with my IIC syndrome. Many books have covered similar, but I believe mine was the first in print that puts it in the order of intelligence, imagination and concentration, and calls it the IIC syndrome. Can't find any books predating mine. I've got the same elements, not in the order. It's just easier for me to remember, IIC syndrome. The idea that just so long as you use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, then this will be 1,000,000% successful for you. Deciphered, you basically told them they're a thick fucking bastard and it's all their own fault if they don't do what you've told them. Tied in with all the other psychological ploys we talked about, hopefully you can start to see how this stacks up and starts to work wonderfully in your favour. Okay. About half an hour left for today. So, where on my notes have I got to? Are we on track? We are. I'm going to briefly cover stage hypnosis because this is also relevant to public demonstrations, it can be. And the psychology behind it ties in with everything else I've told you about. It is said, and I have it on good authority, that the late Robert Halpin, who was a Scottish, I believe he was Scottish, stage hypnotist, he certainly lived in Scotland anyway, for a long while before moving to London. But he regularly, he'd do like 8-week runs, 7 nights a week for 8 weeks at a time at the Glasgow Pavilion Theatre in the 70s and 80s. He was making absolute fortunes. He was bloody massive. And apparently he was having a really, really bad night. Late night, it was the midnight show, Glaswegians pissed up. Everyone has a bad night occasionally, simple as that. And nobody was doing what he wanted. They weren't apparently going under. So he stopped the show, he said, you know, we're going to have a break, then we'll come back, I'll ask for more volunteers. But he knew full well he was on the hiding to nothing. So in the interval, he conjured up a scheme. Or maybe it was just a case he'd used this ploy in the past. But let's imagine he conjured up a scheme. He went back on the second half, asked for volunteers. They looked as bad as they did the first lot. But he appeared to the audience to go across them all, get them to stare at a light, snap his fingers, and ba-doom, 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 one by one, snapped his fingers in front of the faces. They all went, oh, the old eyes closed, heavy head against the chest, body slouched forward, what looks like somebody suddenly going sleep, slouching in the chair, hypnotized as people expect to see it. So the audience are convinced. And when he told them to do things, they did. So everyone believed they'd seen a comedy stage hypnosis show. The only thing is, and he never met any of those people before, he genuinely hadn't. But what he did was this. At the end of the show, he left them with one comedy suggestion. He went, in a moment, I'm going to wake you all up. I'm going to count from 1 to 10. On the count of 10, then and only then. You'll open your eyes. You'll instantly be your normal self. All the suggestions tonight will be completely cancelled out in every way, except for this final suggestion. And this final suggestion is that when I awaken you, you'll remember the final thing I tell you. 1, 2, 3, lighter and brighter. 4, 5, 6, everything cancelled out except for the final thing I say to you. 7, 8, 9. And on 9, you realise in a moment when I tell you to open your eyes, you'll open your eyes. And you'll think that I offered you £50 to play along. And the more the audience tells you that's not true, the more angry you become. Wakey, wakey, rise and shine. Boom. He walked off stage, audience clapping. If you were a fly on the wall, the people afterwards were going out to the audience going, for sure, that bastard's ripped me off, he owes me 50 quid. Why is that a shit Irish impression rather than the Scottish one? I can't do impressions. Anyway, they'd be going, where's my fucking money? It's nearly Irish again. Never mind. Anyway, they were going angry because they wanted the money. And the audience were laughing at them going, it's hilarious. They think he offered him 50, he offered them 50 quid. And the audience would be saying, no, he definitely didn't. We could hear everything he was saying to you. He never said that at any point. Other than telling you you believe that had happened, you're still reacting to a hypnotic suggestion. I'm nearly ripping the backdrop apart there. Just let me clip. I stood on it, Daphne. Yeah. It's just a hypnotic suggestion. And the audience would keep telling that, and they get more angry, saying, no, he owes me money. The audience would laugh even more, and the friends and family saying no. And you know what? At the end of it all, these people would end up going, I must have been a wonderful bloody hypnotic subject then. And they would genuinely believe they'd been hypnotized. Because the reality is what had really happened is, he had a microphone that either had a press button or a switch, or his sound man could turn it down at the right point, so that it was always in the same apparent positions, so the audience were aware that they should be able to hear everything he said, because they were doing. But if you flick the switch or the sound man put the slider down, the audience wouldn't hear anything he said, but they would see his lips move, unless, of course, he just kind of used, rather than, when he's talking dramatically, he's talking like this, you see the mouth move. But then he might talk like this. I need the toilet. I need the toilet. I don't need the toilet, by the way. It's a phrase I know I can say relatively well, where if I was walking around casually and the mic was switched off, the people on stage would hear me, but the audience wouldn't necessarily think I'd said anything. They certainly wouldn't hear it because there's no mic, but they because I wouldn't be moving my lips as much. It's almost ventriloquism. I'm not a good ventriloquist, but talking normally would be, I need the toilet. That's what they expect to see, whereas it would be, I need the toilet. Not a right lot of lip movement, but the same talking, it could be, if he'd said to them, play along and I'll give you 50 quid, might be noticeable if his face was facing the audience, but if it was, just do as I say, and there's 50 quid in it for you, just do as I say, and I give you 50 quid, and if maybe on top of that he does it as he's walking around so people are less likely to notice, and now they're going to turn his back and apparently make hand movements at the people on stage like the old style hypnotist, going deeper, talking to the mic so they could hear it, going deeper, then flick the switch, there's no sound, and say to everyone, just do as I say, then the mic back on, going deeper, more relaxed, turn the mic off, and I'll give you 50 quid after the show, relaxing more and more, so the mic keeps going on and off. The audience never realise it's been said. These people want 50 quid because it's a lot of money to them, and at the end, because of what was said, the audience perceive it as he's giving them a comedy suggestion, but the truth is the people genuinely are angry that they've been diddled out of their 50 quid. But, and I guess I have used this ploy, and you'll see me using it in the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. There's videos of shows in there all around the world, and I point out where I've used it, and you'll see that it does work. In fact, it works so well that often the people who start off angry because they don't get the money, the audience laughing at them, okay, first of all makes them angry, but then they come to question themselves, because there's one of them, maybe 6 or 12 volunteers together as a group that were on stage, whereas there's dozens, if not hundreds, of audience members telling them that isn't what happened. And with that amount of evidence saying it didn't happen, they can come to believe that they imagined it, or that that's the effects of being hypnotized, because the hypnotist at the end suggested to them that, so therefore they must have been hypnotized. And the moment they start to entertain that possibility, it can become their belief that's what happened, especially when they realise the audience are going, "It's right, don't worry, you're a wonderful volunteer, all those things you did," and they realise the audience are praising them and making them feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished, valued, and all the things we spoke about yesterday that make them feel good. And they suddenly think, you know what, this isn't bad, people are buying me free drinks and talking to me, saying I was wonderful, and maybe I was hypnotised, you know, because there's all these people, they pointed out they'd have heard him on the microphone. He was talking at all times, and at no point did he stop. Well, no, he didn't. He just flicked it on and off and maybe put the suggestions in a way I just demonstrated. And maybe now and again, you know, and that's brilliant. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. He's encouraging them, as opposed to keep doing that. When there's very little mouth movement, you don't have to be a wonderful ventriloquist, because it's covered by the movements. But this gets used a lot by even the biggest names in stage hypnosis, trust me. I've worked with the biggest names, and by the biggest names, I'm not legally allowed to mention lots of them because non-disclosure agreements, because of legal actions and things, but it doesn't take too much working out to type in Jonathan Royle, or my former stage name, Alex Leroy, hypnosis seminars in like Birmingham and Manchester and London, and find what other famous television name theatre filling hypnotists I promoted and taught how to do seminars and stuff. And I tell you, the odd thing said off mic, they all bloody do it at certain times. Not in every show, there's no need to, but it's there for the worst case scenario. When you know you've got something to fall back on, you can feel totally confident. When you feel totally confident and you know you can't fail, you have more confidence and you transmit that to your audience members, the people on stage, to your therapy clients, whatever the situation or context or environment may be, and thus you get better results. Hallelujah. Can we have this is very American style, but I'm just going to walk towards the computer. If that makes sense, can you just tap in the chat box to let me know you're alive? Yes. Or praise the Lord, but yes will be enough that I know that actually it is making sense to you and that you're alive. Excellent, James is alive. He's still definitely with us. Yes, people are saying yes, I'm alive, good. That yes just lets me know that it makes sense. Good. Because I much prefer having an audience there. This is really weird. Not physically having you in the room. I know I can see pictures on the computer over there, but there is kind of an energy of having a real audience that's completely different. You know. Anyway, I digress. Hopefully you're learning from all these things. So that is what would be called in mentalism and magic, and also shamanism, the Native American Indians' spiritual belief system. It's what's known as dual reality, because the people on stage have a different perception of what's really gone on, a different experience than the people who witnessed it. But because more people witnessed this false reality than the real one, the people who've witnessed or experienced the real one, sorry, can end up believing the fake one's real because there's more people telling them, and the weight of evidence. And people tend to end up following the crowd. A wonderful book is The Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds by, second name is Mackay. If you type in Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds into Amazon, I promise you it will pop up. I've forgotten the first name, but the second, Charles Mackay, I think. Could be wrong, but Mackay's the, you know what, it's going to really annoy me if I don't do this now. So just bear with me 1 second. I'm going to, Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds. Amazon. If somebody gets to it quicker, type it in the box and tell me. And then I can put myself out of my misery. Madness of crowds, madness.
It's Charles McKay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was nearly right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I took a look.
Thank you. Extraordinary Popular Delusions and Madness of the Crowd, Charles McKay. It's about group psychology and how, as human beings, we're kind of pack animals. We can think for ourselves when we're on our own, but when we get together with a group, there tends to be a leader of the group, and then the majority of people become the followers. And that's what a stage hypnotist plays on a lot as well. Yeah, so as today we have like 20 minutes left. It looks like tomorrow, session 1 will be teaching you the complete mind therapy structure. But if you want to skip ahead, go into the group, click on announcements, and download the video audio PDF training package for complete mind therapy and cured. And you can be ahead of the game before I explain it all tomorrow by listening to the 53-minute long audio MP3 track that's in there. Then it'll make even more sense to you when I teach you tomorrow. I'll also teach you Cured tomorrow, complete unconscious reprogramming of emotional disease and distress, which is a version of ideomotor response, talking to someone's unconscious mind and getting finger movements, or eye blinks, or head nods, or body sways, but non-verbal signals of yes, no, maybe, or whatever, to negotiate with their unconscious mind to, well, overcome anything, habits, addictions, fears, phobias, any issues to deal with, which combines in with parts therapy. None of this is new. There's lots of people out there with different titles for it. All Pain to Go, rapid pain elimination therapy, subconscious therapeutic eliminations and of pain signals and symptoms, which is a name I devised for one of my friends and hypnosis students, Martin Rothery. I came up with that name. Pain-free, pendulum-assisted internal negotiation, fast releasing trapped emotions and energies. Again, another name I came up with for Martin Rothery. All of these techniques, look, I'll be teaching you tomorrow, so you don't need to do all the courses, because they all root back to books from the 1800s anyway on pendulums. I'll teach you the core essence of how Bob Burns' the swan technique works. Because actually, if you look at all books on pendulums, and you'll see it in the Cured manual that I've given you, you'll see that they show a tabletop and they show somebody putting their elbow on the table, taking a pendulum and holding it. Now, if you imagine there was a pendulum here, that is what you will see in the picture in the Cured manual, okay? But if you now take away the pendulum, dude, what we're left with? Somebody in the position of Bob, the starting point of Bob Burns, the swan. Yep. The swan is merely naked pendulum. It's pendulum without the pendulum. And as I pointed out to Bob Burns, SWAN should stand for subconscious wave analytical negation, because you're negating the analytical critical faculty of the brain in an eyes open state with a subconsciously caused wave or movement of the hand. He says he doesn't stand for that. He says it's not hypnosis. But hey, he also says that I didn't help him bring that product to market and give him the advice on how best to launch it to the marketplace and market it, and has libeled me all over the internet by calling me an outright liar, despite the fact, if you go on facebook.com/Alex the Hypnotist, click on photo albums and look for the one that says Bob Burns proof of defamation, you'll see all the screenshots of the private messages. No, I'm not breaking GDPR rules telling you that, or any other rules, because he publicly said I was a liar, and I said, well, I've got the proof I'm not. And he turned round and said, if you have, go away, go ahead, wee laddie, and publish it then. I can only assume he was pissed at the time or something. But the fact is, he's never apologised, so I don't mind pointing out what a cunt, a liar, and a twat he can be at times. And the evidence is all there for you if you want to see. How to bring that product to market, it wouldn't have been half the success it is without that input. That's why he thanks me for it in those screenshots. The same with a lot of the other named successful trainers out there. Guess who advised them? Guess who came up with names for what they teach? And all that kind of stuff. No, that's nothing against Martin Rothery, by the way. Make that clear. Martin and me are friends, and we still are. I was thinking about other people there. Make that very, 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 very clear. Other people whose names will show up if you do the Google searches I told you before. Anyway, enough direct slagging people off for being twats to me. But I do actually tell you from an educational point of view, because I want you to realise that what I said yesterday about what I'm teaching you is the real truth, the real core essence of what really, genuinely, truly works. It's because I don't want you going out there wasting money on other courses. There's nothing any of these other people can teach you that I haven't either already taught you or will teach you by the end of Sunday evening UK time or afternoon, morning, wherever you are. Well, there's a few things you could learn, but none of those other trainers can teach you because they've never done it in the real world. But I can in the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. It sounds arrogant, but it's a fact. So as I've got 15 minutes left, I've given you some gold with Almond's just prove it to yourself technique. It's almost as if, in a way that feels right for you, the IIC syndrome, all the different things that link in with shit and all the other stories, eyes follow the thumb test, it's pure gold. Actually, Almond, I just remembered, Almond does get very close to using what I call the just prove to yourself technique with the Almond eye closure, where he tells you to just close your eyes. You can do this at home if you want. Close your eyes, and with your eyes closed, just imagine in your mind's eye, in a way that feels right for you, okay? Just imagine that somebody has glued your eyelids together with the world's strongest super glue. And then just imagine, using your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, that somebody else has come along and they've kind of stitched your eyes together. It doesn't hurt, but really locking, gluing, welding, cementing, bolting, fixing them together. Excellent. And then just imagine in your mind's eye that you can see a door, and that you open this door and you go through that door and you find yourself in the control room of your mind. And inside there is the head engineer. And you go over to the head engineer and you say, which of these buttons, sliders, dials, switches, or controls is the one responsible for all the little muscle groups around my eyes? And he or she, whatever feels right for you, tells you and points out the correct dial, switch, slider, button, or control for all the little muscles around your eyes. And in your mind's eye right now, in a way that feels right for you, using your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively, I want you to imagine just flicking that switch or turning the dial down or pulling the slider or depressing the control or whatever, so that all the energy, all the power to all the little muscle groups around your eyes is turned off safely, calmly and securely. And just nod your head when you've done that. Excuse me. And when they've nodded their head, you say to them, that's fantastic. I'm going to count to 3. On the count of 3, I want you just to prove to yourself you've done this correctly. Prove to yourself you've turned off all the energy to all the little muscle groups around your eyes. And just try to open your eyes. 1, 2, 3, just try. The more you try, the more the stick. The more you try, the more the stick getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Just prove to yourself you've done it correctly. That's fantastic. When I clap my hands low, the power returns and you can open your eyes now. Open your eyes now. And that's what you say to them. And if they go through that process, basically, as long as they take you literally and prove to themselves they've done it right, they will find that their eyes are locked because they're proving to themselves. So they don't. Ultimately, as a result, that means they don't open. And it's in his book with the eye closure that it's the closest he gets to saying, just prove to yourself. And I took that and combined it with a bit earlier in the book where he goes on about just so long as you keep swimming. Put the two together, the principles of both, as explained earlier. And hey presto, you've got a tool you can use for therapy demonstration, street hypnosis, stage hypnotism, as a convincer at the start of a therapy session. You know, you could come in, they go, meet them, do the instant rapport, what your family and friends call your excellence, so you get on the same level of trust that we spoke about yesterday. And then say, you know what, let's just try something before we start. And you make it sound as though you've just decided to do it there, and then you go, you know, let's just try something. I want to make sure that you're definitely in the right state of mind today for this, what we do together today, to be 1,000,000% successful. So just close your eyes down and then go through what I just did. And one or two things is going to happen. Either A, they're going to prove to themselves they've done it right, in which case it heightens the perception, the belief and everything. Or, worst case scenario, they open their eyes. If they do, because of the way it's phrased, you go, oh, bloody hell. You didn't quite prove to yourself. You didn't quite do it right, did you? And the way it's structured, they will perceive that as being the truth. So you're not seen as any lesser. They're seen as having done it wrong. And you amplify that by reacting something like, it's okay, don't worry, don't feel bad. Like anything, it can take practice sometimes. So let's try another experiment. And then you go to something that you know is more guaranteed to work, like the eyes follow the thumb. So that you can definitely build up the perception. But you can't fail, you can't lower in terms of prestige because of the way it's structured, so it's never your fault, it's theirs. And that's the key lesson that I want you to take from today. Because once you are in a position where you can't fail, it's never your fault, it's always the audience member's fault who volunteered or the therapy client's fault. You don't have to give a shit about what's going on. You just do what you know works the majority of the time with the majority of the people. Because anyone who says there's anything that works 100% of the time with 100% of the people is an outright liar. Or they're talking about a group of people that have been so pre-selected that all the people it wouldn't have worked on have been discarded. And in fact, I will be talking about that tomorrow and Sunday, because when your marketing's done right, you will have pre-selected your clients to get the ones that will pay you sizable fees and the ones that are in the right state of mind for it to work successfully over Zoom or Skype or another video platform during crises just as this, or in person. Your whole marketing approach will structure it so you're set up for success. And we laid the groundwork for that yesterday, and we'll kind of finish that off on Sunday when we get to marketing. We'll bookend it, so to speak. And the bit that's left in between is to teach you the complete mind therapy structure, which we will tomorrow, the cured, complete and conscious reprogramming of emotional disease and distress structure, to teach you various suggestibility tests and inductions, and a few more tricks like the eyes follow the thumb that are guaranteed to work anytime, any place, anywhere, with everybody who does what you've told them to do. But also if for some reason they don't, they're the ones who end up looking daft, not you. And when you put that all together in the right order, you will have the complete jigsaw for success that we spoke about yesterday. It applies to stage as well, but therapeutically, I'll just repeat that it's get rapport, induce the trance. Well, it should be at the beginning, advertise and get clients. Then get rapport, induce the trance, deepen the trance, ego strengthening therapy, necessary therapy, implant the major post-hypnotic suggestion, wake them up. That's what I learned from the APHP course that's in the fast track download that I've given you free access to that wasn't advertised, my gift to you. That exact manual that I learned from originally, I mentioned yesterday. So let's look at this. Marketing, we covered a bit yesterday. Publicity with the diploma and all that. Getting rapport. What do your friends call you? Can I call you the same as your friends and family? When they say yes, they're putting you on the same trust level. So there you go. You know how to get rapport. Inducing the trance. Well, if you look at yesterday's video, I essentially did tell you enough about what you get them to visualize to do a long drawn out progressive relaxation induction. And the scripts in the download for you to read anyway. The deepener, staircase backwards from 10 down to 1. Again, the scripts in there, but I did explain it yesterday. Ego strengthening therapy, it's about those things we talked about, making them feel good, giving them suggestions that they do feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, all the things we covered yesterday, but it's in the script as well. Necessary therapy, there's various scripts for it, or one script that covers for everything and allows the client to fill in the blanks. It's complete mind therapy that we're doing tomorrow. We start on that session 1 tomorrow. Major post-hypnotic suggestion that whenever they listen to the audio CD or the MP3 download you give them or whatever, that it's as effective, if not more effective, than if you were in the room with them, and they'll have an overwhelming desire to listen to it every day for the next 28 days. 28 days is a lunar cycle, so it has a magic, a metaphysical link to anyone who believes in that. It's also true that it takes 28 days for a habit to become fully formed, so logically it will take 28 days for it to become a habit, not to have the habit they used to have, for example, to instill a new behaviour pattern. 28 is a powerful number. You put a lot of women in a prison on different days through the course of a year, and once they've been in prison for around 28 days, studies show, they will all start their periods at roughly practically the same time, unless there's a medical issue, because they're in the same environment, and it's about timescales and cycles. Awakening is we're going to count from 1 to 10. Now here's a key thing. Other people do this different ways. You'll see different books contradicting people. I say there's one way to do things. Well, there's two ways to do things. The wrong way and my way. And if that sounds big-headed, when you've had 30 years of career, as successful as me, over 200 TV shows around the world, bought your own property outright for cash, as in walking in with a briefcase, opening it with the cash there, putting it on the counter, and they have to close the building and get security to count the money. And I did that literally 3 or 4 days before my 30th birthday. To put that in perspective, I'm 44 now, 45 this year. Bought my own home outright for cash, cash that was earned purely from hypnosis, cash that was earned purely from the techniques, the exact techniques I've shared with you so far and will over the next 2 days. Anything I don't manage to teach you during that time is taught in the boot camp. I'm not saying that to brag, I'm saying it, that I'm telling you, the people out there that slag me off, there's a reason they slag me off. It's because they've not had a fucking fraction of the success I have in this industry. They've been at it, some of the so-called big trainers, what they've got is a load of money they're spending on marketing to make themselves look good. They've actually got about 3 or 4 years experience of being a full-time hypnotist. Bullshit. Most industries is accepted. You've got to be in it for at least 10 years to know what you're doing properly. So as arrogant as that sounds, I'm saying it for this reason. I'm saying it because I want you to have faith and knowledge that these techniques, however simple they seem, what, just a bloody eyes following thumb? What, just using that phrase, just so long as you keep your eyes closed, or just using that phrase, prove to yourself you've done it right? Yes, these are the things that have taken me around the world. Yes, these are the techniques that are paid for my lifestyle. Yes, these are the techniques that set me financially independent before I was 30. Yes, these are the things I will continue to share with you over the next couple of days, including how to create multiple streams of passive income so that you can earn more money while you're asleep at night than most of the average jobbing hypnotherapists do, working, I'd like to say they're working 40 hours a week, but you know what, that would mean 2 things. Number 1, they're being the elite few in the world that are, or number 2, they are charging an absolutely shit low rate and attracting the dregs of society who are likely to relapse and stuff, because all the psychological ploys we talked about yesterday that you've got to have in place for success to be able to charge the premium and for it to work in one session, which I believe is more ethical and moral. Well, hopefully you remember what we said yesterday. If you didn't see it and you've not caught up on it yet, please watch it. It's in the group already, because it will take what we've said today and amplify it massively. So, to finish today, quickly, the Mind Care Mind Rules, there's 8 of them. Call them the Mind Care Mind Rules because with my late business partner, Peter Hill of Prospect House Publishing, God bless his soul, we came up with these rules as part of the training, and the company was called the Mind Care Organisation UK Limited. Mind Care Rule 1, each idea or thought gives a physical reaction. Mind Care Rule 2, expectancy is realised. Hang on, let's go back. Number 1, each idea or thought gives a physical reaction. It has to be a thought first before it can become an action in the real world. So if someone's doing something they want to stop, before they can stop it, it's also got to be a thought first. That is why we've got to conjure up those mental images and stuff. Mind Rule 2, expectancy is realised. More often than not, what people expect to happen will occur. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like the person who goes to the job interview and starts going, oh, I hope I don't get nervous. and then they sit there and they keep running that program. I hope I don't get nervous, and they end up running off to the loo to be sick or to shit themselves or whatever, and they're really nervous and they fluff it because they ran a negative program, because they expected it to occur. Whereas if they'd gone in with, you know what, if I don't get this, there'll be other jobs along, but I reckon if I give this my best, there's no reason why I shouldn't get it. They'll be running a program that goes, I'm worthy, I'm good, they'll be calm and relaxed, and they'll be more likely to get the job. Mind care rule 3. Symptoms induced emotionally for long enough can cause organic change. In other words, stress is the biggest killer in the world. Normal medical doctors will tell you that stress is one of the biggest killers. Stress in the body can cause dis-ease. Okay? Dis-ease. When you're at ease, you are relaxed, calm, and healthy. When you're not calm, healthy, and relaxed, dis-ease. And it can cause the body to cause things like cancer and other organic change. So there is an argument, but we can't say it, we can't claim to do it, that if it can be psychologically induced, it can be psychologically reversed or helped. Certainly, Dr. Herbert Benson, with his books, The Relaxation Response and Beyond the Relaxation Response, which you'll recall I mentioned yesterday, talks about the healing power of sleep and genuine stress reduction techniques that people with illnesses can actually have been shown he had amazing results. In the same way as Dr. Bruce Lipton, the author of The Biology of Belief, the leader in the field of epigenetics, and I have a full seminar called The Biology of Hypnosis that looks at Bruce Lipton's amazing work in this field and explores how you can, through thoughts and visual imagery, create genuine organic and physical cellular level change in the human body with facts, evidence and studies. That's in the boot camp, or you can buy it individually, but ironically, if you buy it on its own, it's like $200, about 180 quid sterling. So why would you do that when you can have the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp till midnight on Wednesday for £197 sterling, containing $10,000 worth of stuff? Mind care rule 4, imagination is more powerful than knowledge in the mind. Remember the plank of wood we talked about. On the floor, walk across it easy. Across 2 buildings, you self-sabotage and fall off. Very powerful. It also goes back those past 2 points to the more extreme, outrageous, surreal, or emotionally disgusting and bizarre the image is, the more it can cause that pain to cause the shift in the mind to cause the change. Mind care rule 5, an idea remains in the person's unconscious or subconscious mind, their computer bank, until it is replaced by another, which is more powerful and emotionally charged. Mind care rule 6, at the same time, opposing ideas cannot be held. This is what causes cognitive dissonance. For example, if you genuinely believe that the governments are not taking advantage of the COVID coronavirus crisis in order to people like Bill Gates to be able to fund things like WHO and a whole bunch of other things, the World Health Organization and Imperial College in London he funds. If you don't think that him funding them and advisors to the UK government and Fauci, the American government, giving them funding and grants, isn't influencing them to use one of his vaccines so he can make billions of pounds and down the line potentially bring in cryptocurrency, microchipping and a whole bunch of other things, then fine. But there's so much evidence out there that proves that that is what Bill Gates wants. And it's also published in Rockefeller documents on their own website and in the World Health Organization plan for the new world and stuff. Genuine documents that are out there. But there's still people that will deny them because that, however much evidence there is, genuinely, goes against what they want to believe, that the world's safe and there aren't people out there who are prepared to let you die purposely to depopulate the world. Population control, as they like to term it. So because they believe this so much, no amount of showing them the evidence from the sources is ever, they're going to go, can't believe that, can't possibly believe it, because it goes against what I believed all my life and been brainwashed to believe. And that causes an internal conflict. And that is what is cognitive dissonance. But they'll always go with what they felt true to for longest, unless they get so much evidence that it becomes so painful to carry on holding on to those limiting beliefs that they move forward, which hopefully you'll see is a real life metaphor now of what we've talked about yesterday and today, of how you go about genuinely changing your person's life for the better. Mind Care Rule 7, suggestions accepted create greater ease of acceptance of further suggestions. Once somebody becomes compliant, there's only 2 types of volunteers in the stage hypnosis show. Those that are cooperative and those that are non-cooperative. The cooperative ones can be really responsive, a bit responsive, not very responsive, but at some level they're responsive. So they go in the cooperative side. And then you've got your non-cooperative. In therapy, there's the person who does what you say or doesn't. But if you've created the environment right, they will be doing what you say because they're ready to let go of that baggage and they bought into it at a sizable financial fee and all the other psychological stuff's in there we talked about yesterday and today. So when you get them to do the first thing, say the tapping and the number goes down, they now believe. So because they believe that, they're more likely to believe their eyelids are going to lock together. And when they do, all right, we know we're using trickery. They don't. They think we say stuff, they imagine it, it becomes reality. They don't realise we've got those clever linguistic tricks I've taught you, or physical tricks of like the eyes following the thumb and all that. But after a few things like that convince us that they get genuine, tangible evidence they felt and seen with their own eyes, the resistance, critical faculty, analytical area of the mind stops resisting and goes, I believe this person can do what they say. And then when they believe that, they arguably are hypnotized, even though hypnosis exists only in the mind of the believer. And anything else you say to them, well, as it says, suggestions accepted, once accepted, create greater ease of acceptance of further suggestions. And final Mind Care Rule 8, the more conscious effort, the less subconscious response, which is the same as what resists persists. The Yoda thing of do or do not, there is no try. Emile Cou's law of reversed effort, that the word try implies potential failure. But all those little bits together, watch yesterday's session again, combine it with today's bit, put those 2 bits of the jigsaw together, and guess what? You're 90% of the way there to being able to do what I've done for the past 30 years successfully. The rest of the gap, well, that'll be filled in tomorrow and also on Sunday. So as I said yesterday, thank you for joining me. I will be in the group in about 10 minutes time, and I've had a bit of a wash because it's really hot in here. Put my pyjamas on, go for a drink. I'll go into the Stay at Home and Hypnotize group for a little bit so I can have a look and appreciate any feedback or comments there, not on the chat here. In the group would be great so I can see it there. I'll be logging off the computer in a minute. That'll make me feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated and valued. And also let me know that I'm on the right track and that this is making sense to you all, hopefully, and that the picture's starting to build up for you. So tomorrow we'll cover CMT and cured, the structures, suggestibility test and inductions, and other tricks. And then on Sunday we'll cover marketing and how to make money out of this. But that will also weave into hypnotic techniques as well for stage and public demonstrations. If you've got any questions, please post them in the group, and then tomorrow I will either type a reply or I will take any questions, print them out and then answer them live on camera as the case may be. But feedback, and also remember to click on the announcement section and download the CMT and Cured training package, as well as the bonus fast track hypnotherapy session package that I've given you access to today. Thank you very much indeed. See you tomorrow about 7:40 p.m. UK time in the room, ready for 8 o'clock start. I'll see you in the room soon. Thanks a lot. Bye for now. Oh, it's bloody hot. Yeah, literally give me about 5-10 minutes and I will be in the group, but you've got about 5 minutes or so. Well, actually, when I get my pajamas on, I'll just leave the room open if any of you want to quickly talk to each other. And then when I've got my pajamas on, I'll log it off and go downstairs and go into the Facebook group. But I can stop the recording now if I remember what to press. Stop recording.